Chapter 174. Who is this witch? How dare you be so presumptuous here? Murong Ying's rebuke made Shen Mengjie quiver in fright. Murong Ying. Although Shen Mengjie rarely pays attention to a woman's appearance, but she will never forget this woman's face. After all, in the current martial arts world, she is the #1 woman, known as the legend among women. Presumptuous. Murong Ying reprimands again. You should call me Alliance Leader Murong. In the martial arts world, there are many rules. These people who practice martial arts belong to the martial arts world. And all the martial arts masters, when they see Murong Ying, must respectfully call her Alliance Leader. Alliance Leader Murong. I didn't know you were here today, sorry to disturb you. But, this is a private matter between me and this kid, I hope you don't interfere. Although Shen Mengjie is very arrogant, but she does not want to provoke Murong Ying. Although she secretly does not like this woman, but her strength is there for all to see. For thousands of years, the Alliance Leader of the martial arts world, when has she ever had a false reputation? When has Murong Ying ever listened to other people's words? I am curious, what is the private matter between you and him? I was entrusted by someone, so I am loyal to him. I hope Alliance Leader. Don't interfere, even so, he does not allow you to touch him. Murong Ying says bluntly, he is my fiancé, whoever dares to touch even a single hair of his, is making life difficult for me, Murong Ying. Making life difficult for my entire Murong family. Hearing this, Shen Mengjie is a little scared. Murong family's position in the martial arts world is definitely one of the best, as the saying goes, the North Murong family is the South Sima. This is not a privilege that ordinary martial arts family can obtain. As for the Murong family's patriarch, Murong Bo, he was rumored to be a supreme expert of his generation. With him around, the position of Murong's family would be even more stable. And in this era, Murong Ying had appeared out of nowhere, bringing the status of the Murong family to new height. No matter who you offend, don't offend Murong's family. Not to mention that his strength was inferior to Murong Ying's. If he were to fight with her, he would be the one to suffer. What, you want to fight? When Murong Ying asked this, Shen Mengjie almost peed her pants. Fuck, it's just being a bodyguard. He was clearly told to deal with some small fries, but he didn't say anything about fighting against the martial arts guild master. Alliance Master Murong, I was rude. Shen Mengjie cupped her hands. The so-called demeanor of an expert was now completely gone. Yang Ruining was still puzzled. What did Alliance Leader mean? Why did Fairy Shen suddenly become so timid? Move aside. When Li Fan saw Shen Mengjie's palm technique, he was itching to try it out. What do you want? Murong Ying frowned, but Li Fan already took a step forward. She came for me, so I naturally have to accompany her. You're crazy. Murong Ying reminded Li Fan, this is the famous ice poison fairy, Shen Mengjie. If she makes a move, she won't spare your life. When Shen Mengjie heard this, she felt a little proud. To be praised by the Alliance Leader, she felt really good. So what? If I'm afraid, how can I practice martial arts in the future? Li Fan rolled up his sleeves and made a starting stance towards Shen Mengjie, 7 Heroes Fist. Li Fan, please enlighten me. Li Fan had already made a stance, which was a declaration of war. To a martial fighter, an official martial duel was very sacred. Even the martial arts guild master had no right to interfere. Sky poison sects Shen Mengjie. Shen Mengjie was overjoyed. What an idiot. Before she could go at him, he took the initiative to take the bait. There weren't many idiots like him nowadays. What an idiot. Murong Ying was a little angry and fiercely swung her sleeves. This guy was really hopeless. He clearly knew that his strength was not the opponent's, but he still accepted the challenge and even took the initiative to challenge her. Did this Li Fan's brain circuit have a problem? Didn't he reject martial arts fights in the past? Why did he become a martial arts fanatic now? You are a junior in the martial arts guild, I can't bully you. Shen Mengjie brought out the demeanor of a so-called expert. In front of the martial arts guild master, she still had to act cool. I'll let you have 3 moves, come at me. Shen Mengjie crooked her finger at Li Fan, causing Li Fan to smile. Since that's the case, it would be impolite to refuse. The opponent was an expert of ice palm, the same martial art that Murong loved. For such a person, he had to fight with speed. Before they made a move, he had to eliminate them first. And this Shun Mengjie actually took the initiative to give him a chance. It was simply a win. But Shun Mengjie didn't put Li Fan in her eyes. The opponent was not a match for a young brat. Even if he started training in his mother's womb, how many years could he have trained? And she had started training since she was 8 years old. She was already 38 years old this year. She had trained for more than 30 years and bitterly trained in the Ice Heart Sutra. Beating him was a piece of cake. And with the protection of Ice Chi, what can he do to me? Then take my first move. Li Fan suddenly took a step forward and directly sent a palm towards Shun Mengjie's chest. Bear King Seal. This was an absolute art under the bear strike technique. It was definitely fatal. Shun Mengjie originally didn't put this move in her eyes, but when she saw Li Fan's palm in front of her and the huge amount of chi in it, Shun Mengjie's expression finally changed. She immediately raised her palm and sent a slap over, clashing with Li Fan's palm. Ice-cold palm. The 30 years of ice-cold chi in her body was poured into her palm. At that moment, Shun Mengjie's palm was as white as jade and even carried a dense cold chi. But Li Fan's Bear King Seal was not a casual palm. His palm contained an explosive power, which was learned from Liao Bing's thunderclap palm. As the two palms clashed, the air distorted. The two palms exploded with powerful chi, clashing with each other and tearing each other's bodies apart. A layer of white frost appeared on Li Fan's body, as though he was frozen. Blood immediately appeared at the corner of Shun Mengjie's mouth. It was obvious that Li Fan's palm had injured her internal organs. Murong Ying watched from the side. Her heart was secretly anxious, but she didn't know what to do. The two of them were competing with their chi. One side was weaker, the other side was stronger. They could only see whose chi was more robust. And Shun Mengjie had not only cultivated for 30 years, she also had a unique ice attribute, which was extremely destructive to the internal organs of the human body. When Li Fan exchanged palms with her, he was really at a disadvantage. But Shun Mengjie was shameless. She said she would let him have 3 moves, but in the end, she couldn't hold back on the first move and made a move to resist. Li Fan did not make a sound. He had already predicted that Shun Mengjie would make a move. At the same time, all the chi in his body was mobilized, crazily gathering in the direction of his palm, clashing with Shun Mengjie's terrifying ice-cold chi, trying to determine who was stronger. Chapter 175. Li Fan's character was very stubborn. Once he set his mind on something, even 9 bulls would not be able to pull him back. He was determined to fight with Shun Mengqing, and Murong Ying would definitely not be able to stop him. At this time, the two of them had already fallen into the most basic internal energy collision. Although Li Fan and Shun Mengjie were both experts, Li Fan had just crossed the threshold. After successfully refining Old Man Yamada's Vajra subduing demon, he only had the strength of 6 tigers. Shun Mengjie had already trained for more than 30 years and had the strength of 3 dragons. 1 dragon was equivalent to 5 tigers. In other words, Shun Mengjie's strength was close to 3 times that of Li Fan. It was very disadvantageous for Li Fan to compete with an expert who had 3 times his internal energy. In particular, Shun Mengjie's internal energy contained a strong ice attribute. This internal energy was like a poisonous snake, following the palms of the 2 people and swimming towards Li Fan's internal organs, constantly freezing his meridians and blood. If not for the fact that Li Fan had a pure yang body and a body full of yang qi, he would probably have turned into a snowman. Li Fan also felt that he was being rude. Competing with Shun Mengjie's internal energy was obviously a bad idea. He instantly fell into deep thought. While resisting Shun Mengjie's internal energy, his brain was spinning quickly. Li Fan seemed to have thought of something. This Shun Mengjie's martial arts was too strange and it had an ice attribute. It was really sinister. Since she was sinister, why should he be lenient? Li Fan immediately transformed the internal energy in his body, allowing him to enter the state of Toad Strike from Bear Strike technique. At this moment, Li Fan's palm seemed to have become a black hole. It was originally competing with Shun Mengjie's internal energy, but in the blink of an eye, it began to actively absorb internal energy from Shun Mengjie's palm. Shen Mengjie was still feeling proud. This silly kid actually came knocking on her door and even competed with her internal energy. As the saying goes, he did not walk the road to heaven, but barged into the doorless hell. But before she could be proud for too long, a terrible thing happened. The true qi in her body suddenly went out of control and started to crazily flow towards Li Fan's body. Good lad. Shen Mengjie was not stupid. She immediately figured out what was going on. Her expression changed dramatically. She didn't have time to think and immediately cut off the true qi in her right hand. Pa. Their palms bounced off each other and they each took 2 steps back. The frost on Li Fan's face melted little by little, and Shen Mengjie, who was originally proud of herself, was now pale, big drops of cold sweat constantly flowing down from her forehead. Murongying noticed something and frowned, but she didn't say anything. Alliance Master Murong, your Murong family has always been open and aboveboard, and you are respected by the people of the martial arts world. But I never imagined that your fiancé was actually such a sinister person, cultivating such an evil martial art. You really know how to slander others. Li Fan wasn't angry as he looked at Shen Mengjie in front of him and chuckled. You also have the right to say that other people's martial art is sinister, really shameless. This dragon toad absorption of water of mine is indeed specially used to absorb other people's power. But I only use it on evil people like you. It is legitimate self-defense. Even if I were to scratch your chest, dig out your eyes and pull out your cock, it wouldn't be too much. You are shameless. You are even despicable. Li Fan rolled his eyes. The two of us are fighting, all right? You are allowed to use evil palm techniques, but I am not allowed to use poison to fight poison. Since your skills are inferior, why don't you go back and look for your mother? Lad, I will kill you. Shen Mengjie was angered by Li Fan's words. Ignoring the loss of internal energy, she raised her palm and swept towards Li Fan. This palm still had the elegance of the frost palm. Wherever the palm wind went, cold wind rustled, chilling into the bone. Right now, Shen Mengjie must be on guard. If he wanted to use the dragon toad absorption of water to sneak attack her, it would probably be useless. Li Fan no longer met Shen Mengjie's palm head-on. At the same time, because the frost palm was like a ghost and the angle was tricky, Li Fan was unable to use Snake Strike to defend and counterattack. To deal with an internal energy expert like Shen Mengjie, Li Fan decided to fight speed with speed. His body sank and instantly entered the state of Tiger Strike. At that moment, all the qi in his body was injected into his 10 fingers, strengthening the strength of his fingers. Everyone had to keep a trump card. Li Fan decided to keep Toad Strike as his trump card. Unless it was the moment to kill, he would not use this martial art. Before Shen Mengjie's palm landed on Li Fan's body, Li Fan had already raised his claw like lightning. His fingers were like tiger claws, tearing at Shen Mengjie's arm, bringing with it dark red blood. Shen Mengjie's arm was in pain. Li Fan's tiger claws almost broke her bones. How did this man train his external martial arts to such a high level? Even if he started practicing martial arts in his mother's womb, it would still be impossible to train to such a high level, right? But Tiger Strike had always been the most ferocious attack. After Li Fan forced Shen Mengjie back with one move, he once again pounced forward, followed by a series of claw attack. But Shen Mengjie was after all a senior expert. After she suffered a loss once, she would not suffer a second time. Now Shen Mengjie had calmed down. She reached out her hand and slapped away Li Fan's attack. Then she took 2 steps back and readjusted her posture. Li Fan was a little excited. An expert was indeed an expert. She actually saw through his attack so quickly. Brat, your time of death has come. Shen Mengjie seemed to be very angry. She clenched her right hand beside her leg. Cold air gathered and a gloomy aura made Li Fan subconsciously shiver. To be able to force me to use this move, your death is worth it. As she spoke, Shen Mengjie's hair moved without wind. It was like it was blown up by true energy. As for Shen Mengjie's entire left hand, it had already turned into white bones. It carried a horrifying aura. Your cold ice palm was actually trained to the 8th level. Murong Ying looked at Shen Mengjie's palm and could not help being shocked. Exactly. This 8th level cold ice palm, I have yet to let others see it. Alliance Chief Murong, Today I will use your fiancé as a sacrifice for this palm." As she said, Shen Mengjie suddenly leaned forward. Her palm suddenly slammed towards Li Fan's head. If this palm landed, perhaps even 9 lives of Li Fan would not be enough. This time, Shen Mengjie used her full strength. Li Fan actually felt an unstoppable pressure, but at this critical moment, Mu Rongying made her move. She did not make any unnecessary movements. She just stretched out 2 fingers and poked Shen Mengjie's palm. Puff! Shen Mengjie's confident 8th level cold ice palm was broken just like that. Her palm trembled. She took 2 steps back. Her expression was a little fearful and a little unwilling. "Alliance Chief Murong, you actually interfered in our match." "I interfered. How about it?" Mu Rongying flicked her sleeves. It was obvious that she was starting to act shamelessly. Chapter 176. Shen Mengjie's bellyful of words were forcefully swallowed back. Damn it, the chief of Wulin was acting shamelessly. How could she continue? She had a bellyful of anger, but now she could only forcefully swallow it. "Chief Murong, this matter, my sky poison sect will remember." Shen Mengjie cupped her hands towards Mu Rongying. "The mountains will not change, the rivers will flow forever, we will meet again. See you again." Rules must be followed, so Mu Rongying still politely returned the greeting. Yang Ruining was a little unable to react. How could the goddess that he liked was also a martial arts expert? She had only used 2 fingers to pierce through Fairy Shen's terrifying palm strike. This kind of woman, it would be very difficult to pursue. But the more difficult it was, the more Yang Ruining wanted to challenge. "This beauty, give me a chance to get to know you." Yang Ruining was unrelenting. He knew that the best way to deal with a woman was to pester her. Not to mention that he had such a high status, such a big family business. All the women in a city who wanted to throw themselves at him were already lining up in the neighboring city. With his conditions, wouldn't it be easy to conquer a beauty? But Yang Ruining miscalculated. Not only did Shen Mengjie ignore him, she even scolded him. "Keep a meter away from me, otherwise I can't guarantee that you won't lose an arm or a leg." The chief of Wulin was so domineering. Yang Ruining was very embarrassed. He didn't know whether to advance or retreat. Li Fan, on the other hand, was unusually silent, standing beside Mu Rongying, not saying a word. "Beauty, don't be so heartless, can you give me some face?" Yang Ruining decided to add fuel to the fire, so he said, "I am Yang Yishan's son." "Who is Yang Yishan?" Although Mu Rongying knew the matters of Wulin like the back of her hand, she didn't know much about the situation of the secular world. Tai Zhu was secretly whispering to Mu Rongying at the side. "Big miss. This Yang Yishan is the secretary of H Province's provincial committee. And Yang Yishan's father is Yang Jingye, the founding father of Huaxia, a member of the Politburo Standing Committee. Any one of these identities could scare someone to death. But it didn't work on Mu Rongying. She was a hero in Jianghu and was born in an aristocratic family in Jianghu. She had nothing to do with politics. On the contrary, many big shots in the political circle often came to them to ask for some inner force training methods. Practicing martial arts could not only strengthen one's body, but it could also cleanse one's bones and marrow, extending one's lifespan. This was the first reason. The second reason was that the experts of every big family were China's national treasures. China's officials weren't stupid and knew the value of these people. Just like the huge Murong family, who knows how many politicians want to curry favor with them. To others, the son of a provincial party secretary was someone they had to fawn over. Including that Wang Qiong from before. His family background was already very overbearing, but after being slapped twice by Yang Ruining, he could only go back honestly. However, the person he met was Mu Rongying. "Get lost." Mu Rongying mercilessly scolded. Her voice contained a little bit of true qi, causing Yang Ruining's body to tremble. "You're not qualified. Let your father talk to me." "I'm not convinced." But Yang Ruining was not willing to let go just like that. He asked, "How am I inferior to him? He's just a poor student, and I'm a prince. Not only in a city, but even in China, who doesn't know me, the young master of the Yang family. Even if I want the stars and the moon, there will be people who will pluck them for me. So what? Murong Ying did not seem moved at all. My future man will be a great hero with an indomitable spirit. You're just relying on your family background to have people respect you. And if you don't have these, what's so great about you? This is what God gave me. Why wouldn't it be? Yang Ruining was very stubborn. This is the fate that God gave me. I will naturally accept it. I was born stronger than this man. How can he compare to me? Maybe he's not as good as you today. Murong Ying smiled, and said confidently to Yang Ruining, but it won't be long before you can only look up to him. How dare you have the confidence to say such a thing? Because he's the man that I, Murong Ying, chose. He's destined to be a dragon among men. This sentence made Li Fan, who was still deep in thought, raise his head and look at his fiancée in surprise. The two of them had been together for a long time, but this was the first time he heard her say such word. It was impossible for Li Fan not to be surprised. These words were really not something that Murong Ying would say. She usually wished that she could say that she was a scum to be happy. I won't end it like this. Yang Ruining felt as if he had been greatly insulted today. I will tell you what a truly strong man is. All right, I'll wait and see. Murong Ying didn't put Yang Ruining in her eyes at all. She dropped these words and got into the car with Li Fan. Looking at Li Fan's somewhat enthusiastic eyes, Murong Ying felt somewhat uncomfortable. She turned her head and looked at the scenery outside the window that was constantly retreating. What are you looking at? If you look again, I'll dig out your eyes. Ari, how did you suddenly become a female Rakshasa? Who's a female Rakshasa? Murong Ying glared at Li Fan. Weren't you praising me just now? How did you change in the blink of an eye? Who praised you? Did you hear wrongly? Didn't you say that I'm a dragon among men? I just don't like that young something. Murong Ying immediately said, I was just saying some nonsense. Don't take it seriously. Fuck. Li Fan was choked with anger by these words. This Murong Ying, would she die if she didn't provoke him? So, it's better if you don't have any wishful thinking. Li Fan was unhappy in his heart. This woman, would she die if she didn't mock him? No, such a deep hatred must be avenged. Wife, actually you don't know. Recently, I've been suffering from chi deviation. I feel that I don't have much time left. Scram. Li Fan can only helplessly shrug his shoulders. It seems like this wife of his doesn't fall for this trick. Wife, recently I feel that my waist is a little sore and I also like to vomit. I think it's because of pregnancy. I'll kill you. Wife, we are husband and wife. Why don't we have any trust between us? Li Fan shouted in displeasure, but Murong Ying laughed. She looked at Li Fan with a gaze that seemed to be able to see through his thoughts. Li Fan, after getting along with you, I've already concluded a set of rules. That is, whatever you say, I'll treat it as dog fart. Fuck. Li Fan rolled his eyes. Wife, actually you're very beautiful. You're the most beautiful person I've ever seen. But occasionally you'll say one or two human words. Murong Ying laughed even more happily. But soon, she couldn't laugh anymore. Big miss, there's a message from home. It says that the master wants to visit the son-in-law's house. Chapter 177. What the hell? Is there any more terrible news than this? Not to mention Li Fan, even Murong Ying couldn't react for a long time when she heard the news. Murong Bo is actually coming here? Did I hear it wrong? Although it's my father, but in this situation, it's too late to hide from him. But he actually came here? You. Are you sure? Murong Ying asked with some apprehension. No. He said he's here to see how eldest miss is doing. Taiju confirmed the news, but it made Li Fan and Murong Ying both break out in cold sweat at the same time. This is definitely not good news, right? No, I have to think of a way to send him away quickly. Murong Ying thought for a moment, then said, just tell him that I've recently gone to the mountains to cultivate, and I'm not at home. Master said that if eldest miss is not at home, he will have a good chat with son-in-law about life. Damn. Li Fan's cold sweat flowed even faster. Sure enough, he doesn't come with good intentions. Li Fan. Li Fan recently organized a camping trip at school, and is not at home either. Murong Ying has already lost her sense of propriety, Li Fan said, What the hell is this reason? It'll be a ghost if people believe it, unless Murong Bo's cerebellum is not fully developed. Master said. If son-in-law is also not at home, he will wait at home until the two of you come back. Sure enough, Taiju added another sentence. Li Fan knew that Murong Bo, that old fellow, is definitely an old fock. With just the two of them, it's still not enough to fight with Murong Bo in a battle of wits and courage. Moreover, Master will be here at 7 o'clock tonight, and he asked us to prepare dinner. Got it. Murong Ying frowned deeply. Obviously, she didn't want to meet her father. The main thing was that Murong Bo and Li Fan didn't get along with each other. They weren't a harmonious father-in-law and son-in-law. For the first time, Murong Ying began to worry. Li Fan, when the time comes, no matter what, you must endure it. Murong Ying had already begun to instruct Li Fan, and you have to dress up a little, according to father's idea of a standard son-in-law, change yourself well. Fuck, why? I, Li Fan, want to marry a wife. Do I need to have a split personality? Why do you have so much nonsense to say? Could it be that you want to fight with my father? Hurry up and send him away, okay? Murong Ying was already furious. She reprimanded him. You're already in danger. I haven't even taught you a lesson, and you're already getting impatient. Why are you lecturing me? It's not like I've done anything evil. Li Fan was very puzzled. You don't remember? Fine, I can remind you. Murong Ying asked straightforwardly, tell me honestly, what's going on with your dragon toad's ingestion of water? Hey, you're talking about dragon toad's ingestion of water. Li Fan felt that Murong Ying was making a mountain out of a molehill. Isn't it just a martial art that absorbs internal energy? It's not like I hang it on my hand every day. This martial art, I only use it to deal with those martial artists with bad intentions. Absorbing internal energy, this is an evil martial art, do you know? What is an orthodox martial art? What is an evil martial art? Li Fan was dismissive. This thing is the same as a pistol, it's a killing weapon. But in the hands of different people, it has different meanings. Dragon toad's ingestion of water is the same. It's not an orthodox martial art, nor is it an evil martial art. It's in my hands. Whether it's good or bad completely depends on what I use it for. Idealistic. Murong Ying unreservedly mocked, in this pugilistic world, is there anyone who is willing to vouch for you, Li Fan, that you're a righteous hero who won't use dragon toad's ingestion of water to do evil? There shouldn't be anyone, after all, I don't have a name in the pugilistic world. Relax, you'll have one soon. Murong Ying directly rolled her eyes at Li Fan. Your previous name was Murong Ying's fiancé. And after your battle with Shunmengjie today, your name will soon become Murong Ying's fiancé who practices evil martial art. Fuck, why? My martial arts were trained by myself. Why do I have to bring you along when I call out my name? No, you're mistaken. Murong Ying reminded Li Fan, it's when I call out my name, I will bring you along. Fucking tofu. Sooner or later I'll change this. I don't know if I'll live to see that day, but I hope that our child will be a great hero in the future. When Murong Ying said this, her face was filled with anticipation and motherly radiance. Our child won't be like you, receiving the most elite training at a young age. I can already feel that he will be the #1 person in the pugilistic world. I say, you only have the baby in your eyes, you don't care about the big baby. Li Fan felt extremely unbalanced in his heart. My strength is also trained step by step. Moreover, dragon toad's ingestion of water is not an evil martial art, it has never been used on a good person. The root of your dragon toad's ingestion of water is the pure yang body. Murong Ying's eyes were indeed very sharp, and the pure yang body has absorbed 11 years of my true qi. Am I not a good person? You're not a good person to begin with. Li Fan, you might be itching for a beating. You see, who would be so violent? Li Fan immediately starts scolding. Right now you're practically a human-shaped Tyrannosaurus. Pa. Murong Ying's 2 fingers jabbed over, as if breaking the air, emitting a crisp sound. Following that is a pu sound. Li Fan moved sideways, his 2 fingers already jabbing into the leather seat behind him. Ayaya, look at your bad temper. What a waste of this leather seat. How much money is this? Squandering. 2 squandering. If my mother were to know that she has such a squandering daughter-in-law, I reckon she would die. Such a good leather, such a pity. This is not something you should consider. Murong Ying stretched out 3 fingers. Now I want to set 3 rules with you. 3 rules. Li Fan was taken aback when he heard that. Why are they playing this game? That, we are a couple, why do we need to set 3 rules? It seems so distant. First, in front of my father, you must listen to everything I say. If I don't let you do it, you must not do it. What the? She's already starting to talk. Li Fan can't help but want to ridicule, but seeing Murong Ying's serious look, he held it in. Second, no matter what my father says, you only need to agree verbally, whatever you think in your heart is up to you. Then third, you're not allowed to be talkative. After explaining, Murong Ying reaches into the armrest and takes out a pair of very refined glasses. Chapter 178. What's wrong? Are you nearsighted? Li Fan could not help but ask. Although he did not have the so-called glasses fetish, but if Murong Ying wore glasses, perhaps she would have a different flavor. For example, Liao Wushuang, the beautiful teacher Liao. She wore a pair of black-rimmed glasses, looking cute and cultured, very good. However, Murong Ying's beauty was a kind of otherworldly beauty. If she used glasses, that kind of vulgar thing, on the contrary, it would be a bit shameful. TSK. Just as he was imagining things, Murong Ying poked him with her finger. Li Fan was startled and jolted awake. Fuck, what are you doing? Are you trying to murder your husband? Li Fan looked at Murong Ying's 2 fingers. This thing was a big killer. Aren't you a little too timid? Murong Ying could not help but roll her eyes. I won't really poke you to death. People make mistakes, horses make mistakes. Li Fan said with lingering fear, even a gun can misfire. My true chi is safer than a gun with a safety. Murong Ying was incomparably confident. Li Fan muttered in his heart, why doesn't this woman go to heaven? There's nothing absolute in this world. Don't be too confident. If you really poke me to death, where are you going to find such a good fiancé? It doesn't matter if you die, as long as your bloodline can be inherited. Murong Ying looked at Li Fan with a smile, making Li Fan lose his confidence. What are you laughing at? I may not have comprehensive knowledge in some aspects before, causing me to be a joke. But after I crammed some knowledge, I also know the conditions for pregnancy. Murong Ying's words made Li Fan feel a chill in his heart. He had a bad premonition. In order to be able to have outstanding descendants after you die, I once collected some of your chromosomes while you were asleep. What's that? Li Fan's bad premonition was finally confirmed. Fuck, if you want to collect semen, then collect semen. Why do you need to collect chromosomes? Who are you trying to pretend to be a scientist with? How did you collect them? Li Fan began to fantasize. Could it be Murong Ying? What a beast. How dare you do such a heartless thing while I'm sleeping? Hehe, you think too much. Unexpectedly, Murong Ying didn't look embarrassed at all. I'm the leader of the martial arts world and the successor of the Murong family. How could I do that kind of thing? I asked Taizhu to help you get it out. Aya, young miss. Taizhu shyly covered her face. Didn't we agree not to tell anyone? I'm so nervous. Fang my ass, drive properly. You only care about covering your face and don't look at the road ahead. Li Fan's heart really collapsed. He felt that he was no longer pure. He was ruthlessly tainted by Taizhu. Your chromosomes have already been frozen by me. Murong Ying seemed to be a little proud. Even if you die, I won't worry. Worry your sister. Li Fan felt something blocked in his heart. He couldn't recover for a long time. He was filled with despair about life. What should he do? Am I going to lose my first time just like that? Why do I have a faint feeling of wanting to cry? Don't be sad. Taizhu will be responsible for you. Murong Ying's words made Li Fan want to cry even more. Young master, it's also my first time. I'm so shy. Taizhu's words also made Li Fan collapse again. What the hell is this? Not good. It's really not good. But there was no way. All right, it's useless to say anything else. Quickly put on the glasses and let me take a look. Murongying and Li Fan had been together for the past few months, and they had all sorts of confrontations. However, she also lost more than she won. After all, Li Fan's mouth was never forgiving. Forget it. I accept my fate. Li Fan sighed deeply. Then, he picked up the glasses and put it on the bridge of his nose. This was a pair of flat glasses without any prescription. After wearing it, he didn't feel dizzy. Murongying sized up Li Fan and then nodded in satisfaction. Not bad. You look more like a dog now. Fuck, how can you praise people like this? When did I say you were a human? Alright, I'm not a human. I'm a dog. Li Fan barked twice. Murongying nodded. If you say so, I won't refute you. I'm a dog, and you're a dog wife. Wife, you don't have much to do. Let's see when we mate and have a bunch of puppies. Believe it or not, the next time I poke out your eyeballs. Murongying stretched out 2 fingers. On them, her super-strong sword aura was condensed. Alright, pretend I didn't say anything. Li Fan shrugged. Under the pressure of power, he could only lay low for a while. Also, my father is a very traditional person. He probably came here today to pick a fight with them. Remember the 3 rules I made with you. Don't do anything bad. My father's strength is much stronger than mine. If he wants to deal with you, I can only give you a grand funeral. Fuck, it's just father-in-law coming. What's there to be afraid of? Li Fan threw caution to the wind. Father-in-law and son-in-law have been enemies since ancient times. What's there to be afraid of? At most, I'll be a good man again in 20 years. Why do you make it sound like you're going to die for justice? My father is not a Japanese spy. I might as well go back to the time of the War of Resistance. Li Fan raised his arms and shouted, at that time, I'll carry a gun and join the army. With my martial arts, I'll beat the Japanese until they cry for their parent. At that time, I'll also form an armed team to tear the Japanese apart. Do you think there weren't any experts at that time? Murongying reminded Li Fan. At that time, the Chinese experts were also dispatched. But there were also many experts from Japan. Both sides also fought a great battle. In the end, both sides suffered. After the surrender of Japan, we also signed a non-aggression treaty to prevent the deaths and injuries of the experts from both sides. But from then on, the 2 countries did not distinguish who was the orthodox in martial arts. Everyone said that they were the orthodox and that their martial arts were strong. Papa, I just had a fight with a guy named Yamoda a few days ago. Yamoda Kazuo? When Murongying heard this, she was suddenly stunned. She looked at Li Fan. You fought with him? Yes. Li Fan nodded. This old guy's strength is a bit strong. He's at the peak. TSK, I thought the Japanese only knew how to cut their stomachs. About 3 years ago. I met him once. Murongying continued, although I defeated him, he also severely injured me. This Yamoda Kazuo, a disciple of the Jin Gang, practiced the Jin Gang demon subduing force. I still have a deep impression of him. This person is very strong. You were lucky to be able to escape from him. I didn't escape. I killed him. Chapter 179. Li Fan's words make Murongying stunned for a long time. What did you say? I seem to have misheard. I said I didn't escape, I killed him. Li Fan shrugs his shoulders and repeats. Bragging is not right. Murongying silently says. Fuck tofu, who's bragging? That old man's corpse is still lying in his treasury. Moreover, I used the dragon toad inhale water to absorb some of his Vajra devil power and practiced my bear strike technique. With that, Li Fan sits in the carriage and raises his right hand. A circle of qi erupts from his palm, causing some of the dust in the carriage to float up. Just like what he said, Murongying finally sees the long-lost Vajra devil power. How is this possible? Murongying thinks that there is something wrong with her eyes. She carefully looks at Li Fan's palm. With her profound skill and rich experience, she can see the strength in Li Fan's palm with a glance, but she can't believe it. His strength is at least several times stronger than you. How could you win against him? A great master who has reached the peak of perfection, Li Fan's level is incomparable to him. Moreover, Yamada Kazuo's strength was personally tested by Murong Ying. 3 years ago, he was already a great master. 3 years later, he should be a lot stronger. Sigh, don't tell me there is really no trust between us. Li Fan seems to be very sad, but Murong Ying is no longer falling for this trick. After all, she has been fooled too many times, and over time, she has developed a comprehensive immunity. Right now, Murong Ying is almost half believing Li Fan's words. Whatever he says, she will first deny it in her mind. I can also have trust, but unfortunately, you are not worthy of my trust. Murong Ying's words blacklist Li Fan. If you perform better in the future, maybe I will change my opinion. Wife, your words hurt my heart. Father-in-law is likely to see me in despair. Despair your sister. Perform well. As Murong Ying spoke, she looked left and right before leaning forward and suddenly kissed Li Fan's cheek. Feeling his wet face, Li Fan was a little surprised and looked at Murong Ying in shock. At this time, Murong Ying sat there as if nothing had happened. She seemed to be resting with her eyes closed. Li Fan touched his face reluctantly and said, "Sometimes I should deal with the relationship with my father-in-law correctly. As the successor of the new generation of the motherland, I can't embarrass an old man. Fine, I'll be magnanimous. No matter what father-in-law says, I'll pretend I didn't hear it. That's good too. If you don't say anything, the situation will be under control." Murong Ying heaved a sigh of relief. She only needed to pacify one of them. Being the leader of the martial arts world, I'm really suffocating. It would be better if Li Fan was a little more obedient. Taizhu, when we get home, immediately prepare master's favorite dinner. As for Li Fan, don't practice martial arts today. You, just read in the study. Read. Yes, my father likes people who are knowledgeable. He doesn't like martial artists. What the? Li Fan said, "Why didn't I see it at your house last time? But I'm still a high school student. I'm a serious and cultured person." You're not cultured. You didn't even go to college. When I reach the age, I will naturally go to college, okay? Don't tell me I have to study in high school for the rest of my life. I don't know about that. Anyway, your level of education is still too low. Murong Ying seemed to be ridiculing Li Fan. Li Fan was unhappy, as if you're that tall. You're only 1 or 2 years older than me. When I was your age, I had already finished my postgraduate studies. My God, is this girl the reincarnation of Mary Sue? You say, do you still need to go to college for your postgraduate studies? You can just study with me. You have the final say on whether it's a boy or a girl. Humph, I'm too lazy to talk to you. Murong Ying rolled her eyes at Li Fan and began to look down. It seemed that she was going to cultivate and no longer paid attention to Li Fan. Li Fan also did not provoke her. The two of them were silent all the way home. Soon, they returned home. Taizhu had already told them in advance that the bungalow seemed to have taken on a new look. The servants who had just arrived had cleaned it up, and not a single speck of dust could be seen. Li Fan took a look. Even the wooden stake that he used to practice martial arts was waxed. It was so polished that his reflection could be seen. My God, do you need to be so exaggerated? Could it be that old fellow Murong Bo has some strange obsession with cleanliness? For a while, you can just stay in this study room. Murong Ying had built a very beautiful study room on the 2nd floor. The two of them mainly practiced martial arts every day. The training room had never been empty. However, this study room was a lot more deserted. The bookshelves were usually covered in dust, but today they were all wiped clean. The bookshelves were filled with all kinds of books. They were from all countries. Are there any powerful secret martial arts books that can open my eyes? No. Murong Ying said straightforwardly, I told you before, but you didn't want to read them. Here are some world-famous books. You can enlighten yourself and replenish your dry heart. This is also a world-famous book. Li Fan picked up an English version of Harry Potter. Murong Ying's pretty face blushed. This was read by Taizhu. Yes, it was read by Taizhu. Murong Ying finally found a scapegoat. She was silently despised by Li Fan. All right. Just consider it as Taiju's hobby. Li Fan was too lazy to care. He flipped a page and found that he could already recognize a lot of words. Learning English during that period of time was not in vain. If he and teacher Liao had more supplementary lessons, he should be able to improve a lot. Li Fan sat in the study room and was really reading the English version of Harry Potter with great interest. Can you understand it? Murong Ying was somewhat doubtful. It's all right. It's a bit like the classical Chinese version of the Three Kingdoms when I was young. Li Fan said without raising his head, half of it depends on reading, and the other half depends on guessing. Just when Murong Ying wanted to find an opportunity to attack Li Fan, the doorbell rang. Why are you here so early? Murong Ying glanced at the clock on the wall. There was still half an hour before the agreed time. Li Fan also put down Harry Potter. He thought to himself, since my father-in-law is here, I have to entertain him. But when Taiju opened the door, the two of them were dumbfounded. They saw Liu Xinnan standing outside the door. After opening the door, she immediately gave Li Fan a flirtatious look. My dear business partner, I'm here to see you. Bang! Murong Ying reached out and immediately closed the door. Chapter 180. Li Fan himself was also stunned. Fuck, how could it be her? The dignified daughter of the Liu family actually personally came to their house. Open the door, quickly open the door. Why aren't you guys opening the door? Liu Xinnan was shouting happily outside, as if she would not stop until the door was broken. But how much strength could Liu Xinnan have? Although the door was still intact, the continuous knocking made Murong Ying feel more and more annoyed. Why did she come? Murong Ying frowned as she looked at Li Fan. Did you arrange to come? I'm being wronged. Li Fan cried out, I haven't contacted her for a long time. How would I know she would come today? Would I believe you? Believe it or not, it's all the same. I'm not lying to you. Li Fan looked like he was about to collapse. I've been busy practicing martial arts and revising for the whole day, lest the school finds an excuse to expel me. I don't have time to take care of extra women now. Ian, that's right. You already have your hands full with Lin Yuhin. That's right. Pei, what do you mean by that? I mean it literally. Murong Ying snorted, thinking of her bet with Lin Yuhin. She felt a little uncomfortable in her heart. She did not know what happened to her at that time. In a moment of impulse, she actually made that bet with Lin Yuhin. It was not that Murong Ying did not have confidence. Her father always said that she was the most beautiful woman in the world. Any normal man would definitely fall in love with her. Her father was an expert. He would definitely not lie. But now, she did not know why. Looking at the inexplicable rotten peach blossoms around Li Fan, Murong Ying had a feeling of worry in her heart. This was the first time in her life that this kind of feeling appeared. Li Fan, let me ask you, do you love me? Murong Ying's sudden question stunned Li Fan. Holy shit, what's going on? What a sudden question. Was this a question that Murong Ying should be asking? Wasn't that a little girl's catchphrase? I'm just testing you. Murong Ying turned her head and looked out of the window. I don't think that's love. Li Fan told the truth. But I definitely have a good impression of her. After all, we've been together for so long. Other than being a little bad-tempered, arrogant, stubborn, and not like a woman, you're pretty good. Murong Ying was so angry that she wanted to kill someone. Was there anything else? Open the door. If you don't open the door, I'll get someone to tear it down. Outside, Liu Xinnan was still yelling happily. Those who didn't know would think that the legal wife was here to catch the mistress. Let her come in. I have a feeling that she won't give up. Li Fan felt that Liu Xinnan could sometimes be terrifyingly stubborn. Once a woman fell ill, even a few bulls couldn't pull her back. I think you're missing her. Murong Ying crossed her arms. Then you can accompany her out. Damn, this is so weird. Then I don't care. Do whatever you want. Li Fan waved his hand and turned to leave. But Murong Ying thought of something and pulled him back. Pretend I didn't say anything. You go and persuade her to leave. Do you think she'll listen to me? Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He also couldn't do anything to this Liu Xinnan. This woman didn't have big boobs, but she had a lot of bad ideas. I don't care. Anyway, You have to think of a way to deal with it. Murong Ying looked at the time. Murong's blog was almost here. Fine, fine, fine. You only know to look for me at this time. Li Fan had no other way. He could only go and open the door. Opening the door, Liu Xinnan took out a big hammer from God knows where and was about to break the door. Behind her, the bodyguards of Murong's house were sweating cold sweat. They didn't know what to do. What are you doing? Li Fan frowned as he looked at Liu Xinnan, who was struggling to drag the big hammer. I see that your house is a bit crooked. I'm going to help you fix the door. Liu Xinnan said in a serious manner, I'm a kind person. Don't thank me. This is what I should do. By the way, why are you dressed like a refined scum today? Nonsense. Murong Ying swept her sleeves. She was obviously angry. This is my, Murong's house. How can you be so presumptuous? Your house. Isn't this Li Fan's house? Liu Xinnan smiled. It seems that you don't treat Li Fan as one of your own. Li Fan, how about we don't live here? I'll give you the most luxurious modern apartment in a city. It comes with a garage. You can choose the car you want inside. Liu Xinnan was definitely a rich girl. Li Fan knew that her family was rich, but he flatly refused. Impossible. I swore that I won't rely on my face to make a living. Murong Ying seemed to be relieved, but Liu Xinnan curled her lips. Damn, you still want to rely on your face to make a living? You're not handsome. Don't tease me, okay? If this miss wants to give something, then I must give it to someone. Liu Xinnan became angry. If I give it to you, you have to take it. Damn, this is the first time I've seen you like this. You should take your medicine. Li Fan thought that Liu Xinnan's brain might be a little abnormal, but Liu Xinnan rolled her eyes. Anyway, don't stay here. Come with me. With that, Liu Xinnan grabbed Li Fan's arm. He won't go anywhere. Murong Ying grabbed Li Fan's other arm. Why, did he sell it to you? Liu Xinnan emphasized, he still has his own personal freedom. He's my man. I have the final say. Murong Ying was still so overbearing. I have the responsibility to protect my friend's personal rights. Liu Xinnan also persisted. The two women treated Li Fan as a rope, playing a tug-of-war game. Enough, don't mess around. Li Fan finally couldn't stand it anymore. His body shook, and his true qi shot out like a wall, gently pushing the two women away. Liu Xinnan's side was a bit weaker, while Murong Ying's side was a bit stronger. After getting rid of the two women, Li Fan finally felt relieved. You two stop messing around. Also, that snake woman, Miss Liu. Today, my father-in-law is coming. I don't have time to play with you. Hurry up and leave. When the cooperation starts, I will naturally come to find you. Li Fan began to ask them to leave. But when Liu Xinnan heard this, she instantly became interested. She threw the big hammer to the side, lowered her body, and went into the room behind Li Fan. Thank you for your hospitality. I even brought a gift for you. Liu Xinnan said as she took off the silk scarf on her neck. It's a French master craftsmanship, a special item for the royal family. If you can't buy it outside, I'll give it to you. Feel free to play with it. Fuck, it's obvious that you temporarily used your own things, okay? Gift your uncle. Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why did you come in? In any case, I'm not going out. If you have the ability, kill me. Liu Xinnan began to act shamelessly. You think I don't dare? Murong Ying's brows furrowed as she raised her palm. Chapter 181. If this Murong Ying got angry and hit someone, how could Liu Xinnan be her opponent? Li Fan hurriedly stopped Murong Ying and advised, my ancestor, don't kill anyone. Fine, fine, fine. Leave this matter to me. Murong Ying was just a little impulsive. As the leader of the Wulin Alliance, she should set an example and not make a move on ordinary people. As Li Fan stopped her, she went downhill and put down her palm. Snake woman, today is a very important day. Can you not make trouble? Li Fan went to speak to Liu Xinnan. How am I here to make trouble? I'm obviously here to visit you as a guest. Liu Xinnan crossed her arms, sat on the sofa and looked at the decoration of the house, but the decoration style of this house is a bit outdated. How about I find someone to help you redecorate it? I guarantee that it will be brand new and more luxurious than an 8-star hotel in Dubai. Forget it. Li Fan waved his hand. Just tell me, are you leaving or not? I'm not leaving. Bite me. Liu Xinnan had already made up her mind. She reached out and touched the sofa under her body. This leather is not good at all. The style is too outdated. Oh my God, Li Fan, how do you live in this kind of pigsty? How about you go to the apartment I arranged for you? A small house with a courtyard and a north facing south, facing Songjiang. It is definitely a golden house. Even if you die in the future, you can preserve the value of the house for your descendant. Master Bao. When Li Fan was thinking about how to drive Liu Xinnan away, a black Maserati slowly came from the outside. Oh no, my father is here. Murong Ying's face changed. Li Fan looked at the maid standing next to him and suddenly had an idea. He pulled Liu Xinnan and said, "Snake woman, pretend to be my maid, please." Bullshit. I was born to be a young lady, how could I be a maid? Help me once, and I'll promise you one thing. Li Fan stretched out a finger, and Liu Xinnan smiled. Actually, I did study acting at Beijing Film Academy for a period of time a few years ago. It's a good opportunity to give it a try. Damn, you changed your words really fast. Taizhu, quick, take her to change clothes. Li Fan reminded Liu Xinnan, remember, don't talk nonsense. Otherwise, our agreement will be invalid. Don't worry. Either I don't agree, or I will definitely do it. With a face full of smiles, Liu Xinnan followed Taizhu to the servants' room to change her clothes. But to let a man bring this lady to change clothes? Don't worry, she's a pure girl, the very pure kind. Li Fan reassured Liu Xinnan. Just as Liu Xinnan was about to refute, Taizhu covered his face, twisted his waist, and said coquettishly, "You're so annoying. Young master, you're making me blush." Cold sweat dripped down Liu Xinnan's forehead. The house that Li Fan lived in seemed a little abnormal. No wonder Li Fan's character was a little abnormal. She finally found the reason. No, she was so kind. She must save him from this fiery pit. But first, she had to see what the father of the chief of Wulin was like. Although Liu Xinnan had seen many things, she had never seen those legendary masters. With Taizhu's help, Liu Xinnan quickly changed into a standard maid's uniform. She was a beauty after all. Even in a maid's uniform, she was still charming. When she walked out of the room, Li Fan couldn't help but rub his eyes. My God, was this the legendary uniform temptation? Liu Xinnan combed her bangs into a ponytail. She wore a black and white maid uniform with white stockings on her legs. There was no sense of incongruity at all. Sure enough, cosplay was the same. He needed to find a beauty. Only then would there be no incongruity when cosplaying any character. Li Fan was sighing with emotion, but Murong Bo had already pushed the door open and entered. This legendary super expert shouted at the top of his lungs as soon as he came in. "Baby, where's my big baby? Dad missed you so much. Quick, let Dad hug you." Murong Ying's face turned green. She pushed Murong Bo away. "Dad, can you watch your words? What are you afraid of? There's no outsider here." Murong Bo snorted. She suddenly saw Li Fan. "Oh right, I forgot. There's indeed an outsider here." Liu Xinnan saw the scene just now. She was a little confused. But when she heard this, she made a note in her heart. Looks like this Murong's family head doesn't like Li Fan. "Sister, brother-in-law, I'm sorry to disturb you." And Murong Ari, this little demon girl, also walked in. Today, this little demon girl was wearing a red and black dress. She looked as obedient as she could be, but Li Fan knew that all of this was just a false appearance. This woman was a terrifying demon girl. Murong's family didn't know that she knew the Frost Heart Sutra. Even if they knew, they wouldn't believe it. Although Liu Xinnan's nickname was a snake and scorpion woman, she was still far from being evil. After all, Liu Xinnan's evil was in her bones. She was the same inside and out. The most terrifying thing about Murong Ari was that she made everyone think that she was an obedient girl. "What's wrong, brother-in-law? Do you hate me?" Murong Ari looked at Li Fan's hateful eyes. Her eyes couldn't help but turn red. I know I'll disturb you and sister. But I really miss sister too much. I haven't seen her for a long time. Boo-hoo. Brother-in-law, I'm wrong. Please don't be angry with me. What the? Looking at Murong Bo and Murong Ying's red eyes, looking like they wanted to eat him, Li Fan almost vomited blood. This little demon, she's starting again. Xiao Ari, your brother-in-law didn't mean that. Murong Ying gently stroked her sister's hair. There's a new person in the house. He might not be used to it. Don't worry, sister will teach him well. What do you mean teach me? You're going in the wrong direction, okay? Hearing this, Li Fan cursed in his heart. But in front of Murong Bo, he abided by the agreed rules. He didn't say anything and pretended not to hear. My good daughter is right. Murong Bo also nodded repeatedly. This man needs to be disciplined. Why don't you let someone discipline you? Li Fan secretly rolled his eyes. Master, miss, dinner is ready. Taiju also changed into a maid costume today. But this maid costume was simply a kind of abuse for her. Murong Bo and the others seemed to be used to it. This old fox glanced at her, then his eyes suddenly fell on Liu Shinnan, sizing her up. At that moment, both Li Fan and Murong Ying were a little nervous. He wouldn't see any flaws, right? Chapter 182. Li Fan muttered in his heart. The three women in this room. Well, Taiju was naturally not included. None of the three women were easy to deal with. They were all very smart. Murong Ying was just a little more overbearing, Liu Shinnan was a little more selfish. And Murong was an absolute black-bellied woman. As the saying goes, 3 women in a play, plus a stupid father-in-law. Well, this troupe was complete. It was hard for him. It was not easy to act this play. Murong Bo looked at Liu Shinnan from head to toe and seemed to be thinking about something. Li Fan and Murong Ying secretly looked at each other. Both of them revealed a trace of worry in their eyes. Could it be that there was a flaw and Murong Bo found it? But Murong Bo just glanced at it and then said casually, "Good daughter, don't keep such a beautiful maid at home in the future. It's not safe. I'm afraid some people can't control the thing in their crotch." Li Fan broke into a cold sweat. Fuck, why didn't this father-in-law go to heaven? Thank you for reminding me, father. Murong Ying also didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but she subconsciously agreed with her father's words. However, it's good if he can run away with this girl. Murong Bo touched her chin and thought, in this way, my baby daughter can return to father's side. Heh. I say, little girl, what do you think of your son-in-law? If you are willing to live with him, I will give you 1 million yuan. Master, you're too kind. Liu Shinnan hurriedly waved her hand. She seemed to be shocked, but she kept cursing in her heart. Old man, I will give you 10 million yuan. Take your daughter and get out of here. But she, Liu Shinnan, would definitely do what she promised with Li Fan. Master, please have your meal. Taiju reminded him again, and only then did Murong Bo react. Oh right, now that you mention it, I'm a little hungry. My 2 darlings, come and eat with me. It's been a long time since we've had a meal together. Li Fan fiercely glared at Murong Bo's back and cursed him. Damn daughter complex. Who would have thought that the master Murong Bo, who had caused a sensation in the pugilistic world, was actually a complete daughter complex? You won't let Jiang Feng come in and eat with us? Murong Ying noticed a thin figure standing outside the door and couldn't help but ask. Don't worry about him. He's been practicing martial arts recently and doesn't eat past noon. Murong waved her hand as if she didn't care much about her disciple. Jiang Feng stood outside the door, motionless like a door god. It was already late autumn, and the cold wind was bone-chilling. Li Fan couldn't help but feel a little sympathetic. It seemed that practicing martial arts with Murong Ying was much better than practicing with Murong Bo. After entering the dining room, the long table was filled with Murong Bo's dishes. But at this time, Murong Bo didn't have the arrogance of a master. Instead, she personally divided the food for the 2 women. When you 2 were young, you 2 were very gluttonous. The 2 of you would have fought over a chicken drumstick. Bo didn't forget to lament about the past while eating. It's all in the past, don't mention it anymore. Ying was very embarrassed to talk about these things in front of Li Fan. It's my fault. Bo picked up a chicken drumstick for her sister and then said, I was ignorant at that time and liked to fight with my sister for everything. When I grow up, I must be filial to my sister and give all the good things to my sister. Xiao Ari is getting more and more obedient. Bo was very gratified. Li Fan secretly rolled his eyes, thinking, obedient my ass. Brother-in-law, do you not like me? Bo looked at Li Fan and asked with some grievance, Xiao Ari will be filial to brother-in-law in the future. I won't make brother-in-law angry. Brother-in-law, don't hate me, okay? Okay, I promise to love you. Li Fan didn't wait for the others to speak and quickly nodded his head in agreement. I don't know what kind of demon this Bo is going to do, let's kill her first. Ari was obviously firing at him time and time again, but no matter what technique she used, as the saying goes, if soldiers come, I'll counter them with arms, and if water comes, I'll block it all. Li Fan made up his mind, so his attitude became very good and very sincere, making Bo unable to find any fault. Today, Li Fan wore a refined mirror and dressed like a scholar, making Bo feel a lot more comfortable. Needless to say, this is definitely Ying's idea. This daughter of mine has grown up and is starting to help outsiders. Sure enough, a grown-up girl can't be kept at home. Thinking about it makes me sad. Li Fan, how's your training recently? Bo's gaze suddenly fell on Li Fan. Li Fan raised his head and his heart shivered, thinking, sure enough, here it comes. This old man rarely comes. If he doesn't target me, I'm afraid he won't be happy. Thank you, uncle, for your concern. I have made some progress. Li Fan pretended to be modest, but Bo chuckled, Xiao Ying, you should teach him. I hate people who like to talk big the most. Uncle, although my strength is not good, I never talk big. Li Fan was still neither servile nor overbearing, ignoring Ying's gaze at the side. Okay. Bo nodded, then pointed to the last chicken leg on the plate in front of her with her chopsticks. If you can take this chicken leg away, I'll consider what you said is true. How can I do that? I don't have any pursuit for food. If uncle likes to eat chicken leg, just take it away. If I tell you to take it, then take it. Bo was very unhappy. I'm doing this to verify whether your words can be trusted or not. Don't you dare. Since that's the case, then forgive this kid for being rude. Li Fan was also impolite. Without using chopsticks, he directly grabbed it with his hand. This made Bo somewhat surprised. This Li Fan actually grabbed it with his hand. Too shameless. Bo immediately stretched out her chopsticks, trying to clamp Li Fan's hand. But Li Fan's hand retracted like lightning. He used the great sage picking star technique, ready to grab that chicken leg again. But Bo's chopsticks were also superb. No matter where Li Fan's hand came from, there was no way to escape from his chopsticks blockade. Bo looked expressionless, but there was an indescribable pride in her eyes. But Li Fan was already prepared. He knew that this chicken leg would not be so easy to get. His other hand secretly reached under the table, multitasking. While Bo was concentrating on sealing himself with chopsticks, true energy erupted from his palm under the table. Chapter 183. How could this piece of chicken leg resist Li Fan's true chi? It directly flew up and floated in the air, becoming a blooming life. Bo sneered, seemingly not taking Li Fan's move seriously. The chopsticks in his hand seemed to have eyes, continuing to chase Li Fan's palm. As long as he stretched out his hand, the chopsticks followed like a shadow, making Li Fan unable to touch the chicken leg flying in the air. The chicken leg was about to fall, but Li Fan still didn't panic. He slowly tried to catch the chicken leg with both hands. In a few seconds, the two people's hands and chopsticks collided countless times. Regarding Li Fan's phantom-like technique, even if Bo didn't like it, he really had to admire it in his heart. In just a month, he actually improved a little. But even so, he's not worthy of my daughter. Bo was ready to completely block Li Fan's hands and make him despair. His chopsticks clamped 2 fingers of Li Fan's 2 hands at a time. In this way, he blocked all of Li Fan's attacks. The old man glanced at Li Fan with a smile, meaning, "What do you think? You can't do it anymore, right?" The chicken leg was about to fall on the plate, but at this moment, Li Fan suddenly opened his mouth and took a deep breath. The chicken leg was directly pulled up by his inhalation, and then he bit it in his mouth. Murong Bo was stunned. He didn't expect this at all. Li Fan, this kid, could actually control his true qi to such an exquisite degree. Moreover, he kept attacking with both hands to numb himself, making him think that he could only use 2 hands to make moves. In the end, when he thought the dust had settled, he used his trump card to suck away the chicken leg. In a small confrontation, Murong Bo, this great master, lost. This made Murong somewhat unable to accept it in her heart, but she had nothing to say. As the saying goes, if one is willing to bet, one must be willing to lose. Li Fan had made such great progress in such a short period of time. Even Murong Bo could not help but be a little jealous. Could this really be the effect of the pure young body? However, other than absorbing true qi from women, this pure young body could at most increase the speed of one's cultivation. Even so, it was impossible for him to be this fast. The main thing was that these external and internal force control techniques were definitely not something that a pure young body could teach. Could it be that Murong Ying taught them? However, Xiao Ying's forte shouldn't be in this area. She basically had no talent in teaching. Murong re-examined Li Fan and made a new judgment about him. Could it be that this youth still had some hidden potential in his body? If Murong Bo knew that Li Fan had the highest 5-flower physique in martial arts, he would either firmly control Li Fan in his hands or kill her. Murong Ying seemed to know this, so she didn't mention Li Fan's physique to her father. Moreover, Murong Ying had also asked Li Fan not to enter the state of cultivation in front of outsiders. "Uncle, I've let you see a joke." Li Fan continued to pretend to be humble. "If it wasn't for Uncle deliberately letting me, how could I have the opportunity to eat this chicken leg? It's good that you know, your martial arts are still too far away." Murong Ying's sharp eyes were obviously inherited from her father. Murong Bo calmed down and ridiculed, "Don't think that you can be complacent just because you've reached the next level. There are still too many people in this world who are stronger than you. Uncle is right, I've learned something." Li Fan cupped his hands. Murong Ying was still a little nervous. After all, she knew Li Fan's temper very well. He was a docile donkey. Usually, it was fine if she went along with him, but once he was provoked, he basically wouldn't care and would definitely make a scene. Li Fan's personality was like the monkey's son. As for her father, he was also a hedgehog. If he was provoked, he would definitely be stabbed with blood. When the two of them were together, they were basically natural enemies. She remembered that it was the husband who was busy dealing with the relationship between the mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. On her side, she had to be busy dealing with the relationship between the son-in-law and son-in-law. She was the dignified leader of the martial arts world. Why did she have to study these 3 vulgar things? So annoying. In the future, you have to practice diligently, so that you won't drag down our Murong family's reputation, Murong said on Weibo. Li Fan nodded repeatedly, suppressing his displeasure. This was how tragic it was to marry into someone else's family. This was the reason why he was so resistant to marrying into Murong's family. Although it would save him a few centuries of hard work, he was afraid that he would never get the slightest bit of respect in Murong's family. It was very helpless, but it was the truth. However, if he were to be separated from Murong Ying like this, for some reason, Li Fan seemed to be a little reluctant. Could it be that he had fallen in love with Murong Ying? Li Fan was muttering this matter in his heart. After all, he didn't know what love was, and he had no experience in love at all. In the past, his family was strict, and any signs of puppy love would be strangled to death. It was still naive when he was in kindergarten. At that time, there was a girl in the class who was very beautiful, and many boys wanted to sleep with her during their afternoon nap. They even fought. Later, the little girl was also very resourceful. She would sleep with whoever gave her the most candy at noon. Murong continued to enjoy his dinner. As a martial artist, He consumed a lot of energy and ate a lot. While they were eating, he couldn't control his mouth and kept on talking. Big baby, I recently met with the people from the Nangong family. Their young master is in his early 20s. He is young and promising. The Nangong family is good at music, and their internal energy is outstanding. I see that nephew Nangong is also proficient in music, and he looks like Panan. I really like him. Dad, recently, Li Fan has also been studying music. Murong Ying knew that Murong's Weibo was trying to brainwash her again, so she immediately said, it's also a small achievement. Fuck, when did I study music? Li Fan was stunned at that time. Does playing the flute count? Oh, really? Then play a piece for me. Murong Ying rolled her eyes and said, he studies the piano, and I want to buy one today. But I haven't bought it yet, so I can't play it for you for the time being. It's okay. Murong's Weibo laughed, I'll ask someone to send one by air. Li Fan broke into a cold sweat. The content of their conversation was too explosive, and he couldn't stop them at all. Let's do it another day. I'm a little tired. I want to rest after eating. Murong Ying tried to avoid the topic. She was just a little unconvinced, so she pushed Li Fan to the teeth of the storm. Then even if Murong's Weibo was too lazy to care about it. When he was about to wave his hand to continue eating, Murong curiously asked, can brother-in-law play the piano? I like the piano the most. I want to listen. Chapter 184. Listen to your sister. Li Fan knows that Murong loves this girl on purpose. She wants to hear me play the piano. Bah, she definitely wants to see how I make a fool of myself. Since my little baby has requested it, then Li Fan, you play one. Murong wiped her hands, and the servant next to her immediately handed over his phone, I'll order a piano. Li Fan, do you like a normal one or a triangle one? Fuck, I like a thong. Li Fan wants to kill someone, he feels that he can't bear it any longer. Murong Ying also seems to feel that Li Fan's patience is decreasing, she quickly said. Xiao Ari, it's too hasty to buy a piano just to play a song. She rolled her eyes and said, although I don't understand music, I understand that a person who likes music must be very careful when choosing an instrument. Later, I'll go to a piano shop with your brother-in-law. When he chooses a suitable instrument, I'll play it for you. How about it? Li Fan wants to give Murong Ying several thumbs up. If this woman is not so strong, she would really be a good wife. I'm sorry, sister. My request is too much. Murong Ari somewhat guiltily bowed her head. I always have no sense of propriety, making things difficult for sister and brother-in-law. I'm sorry. No, Xiao Ari is the cutest. Murong Ying somewhat pitifully stroked her sister's hair, while Murong looked at Li Fan with even more anger in her eyes. Fuck, this has nothing to do with me, it's your eldest daughter who kept saying it, young master, I didn't even say a word. This family of psychopaths, I've had enough of them. On the other hand, Liu Xinnan secretly wanted to laugh. Li Fan was humiliated in Murong's house. Although she was a little unhappy, she didn't know why she was a little gloating. Humph, Li Fan, who told you to choose Murong's family? If you had followed me, would you still have to endure this? Servant, what's wrong with you? Just as Liu Xinnan was in a dilemma, Murong Bo suddenly yelled at her. Liu Xinnan was stunned and looked at Murong's blog in confusion. Can't you see that there's no wine in my glass? How did you teach him to be so insensible? Liu Xinnan was speechless. This old man was really enjoying himself. I'm sorry, master. I've just arrived and don't know the rules. Please forgive me. She could only swallow her anger and step forward to pour wine for Murong. Enough. Looking at Liu Xinnan pouring half a glass of red wine, Murong Bo immediately scolded her. His voice was like thunder, scaring Liu Xinnan so much that she almost threw the wine bottle. How can you pour wine? Do you need to pour so much wine? Do you know that the taste has been ruined by you? You're really useless. You can't even be a servant. You probably won't have any future in this life. Liu Xinnan strongly resisted the thought of smashing the wine bottle on Murong Bo's head. She lowered her head and apologized. Taizhu quickly stepped forward and poured wine for Murongbo. What's the use of keeping this kind of servant? Quickly resign. It's not like our Murong family can't afford to hire servant. Murongbo was very unhappy and scolded Liu Xinnan. Liu Xinnan kept her head down and didn't say a word. Li Fan felt that it was a little difficult for the girl. After all, she was the daughter of a rich family. When had she ever been wronged like this? Usually, people from all walks of life flattered others. Now she was ordered around by a strange man. If it were him, he might not be able to bear it. Unexpectedly, Liu Xinnan really didn't say a word. Good job. Leave quickly. Don't make the master angry. Taizhu waved his hand and let Liu Xinnan leave. I'm also full. I haven't finished reading today's book. I'm going to read. Uncle, please forgive me for leaving first. With that, Li Fan wiped his mouth, got up and walked to the study. Seeing Li Fan leave, Murongbo was happy. Good, good, good. The outsider has left. Dad, what are you talking about? Li Fan is not an outsider. Murong Ying seemed to be a little unhappy. That's right. Dad, how can brother-in-law be an outsider? Murong Ari suddenly said something good. I think brother-in-law is quite good. Unfortunately, we've all grown up. I miss the words I said to my sister when we were young. The two of us should marry the same man. In this case, my sister and I don't have to be separated. My little daughter is really naive. Ha ha ha. Hearing this silly words, Murongbo suddenly laughed, making Murong Ari blush. I've let you see a joke. Xiao Ari, you've grown up now. You can't say such things. Murong Ying looked at her sister. Sister will find a suitable husband for you. He must be a dragon among men. Only then will he be worthy of you. I'm not in a hurry to get married. Murong Ari said very seriously. I still have to work hard to learn martial arts and help sister carry forward the family's martial art. Xiao Ari is really sensible. While her sister praised her sister, Murongbo chuckled and said, I haven't taken a bath with my daughter for a long time. It seems that you two were not allowed to take a bath together since elementary school. It's rare for us to get together today. How about you accompany Dad to take a bath and rub Dad's back? Dad, I want to practice my cherry blossom true chi with you. Murong Ying's eyebrows jumped. Murongbo quickly lowered her head and continued to eat. At this time, Li Fan has returned to his study to hide in peace. This study has a very good layout. There are several rows of antique bookshelves and a small balcony with a hanging chair on it. Li Fan held a Harry Potter book in his arms and sat on the hanging chair. While enjoying the moonlight, he looked at the half-understood book in his hand. This was the mood he wanted. This place was better than being bored by Murongbo outside. People must be self-reliant. At home, Murong Ying is strong, Murongbo is unreasonable, and there is also Murong Ari who is always waiting to spoil him. In a few days, he was afraid that he would not be able to stand it. Just when Li Fan was planning to concentrate on reading and studying, the door of the study was gently pushed open. He saw Liu Xinnan wearing a maid's outfit quietly sneak in. What are you doing? Seeing Liu Xinnan, Li Fan was a little surprised. He quickly lowered his voice and asked, Humph, you really know how to find a place. Liu Xinnan pouted, for your bet, this lady sacrificed a lot, do you know? Yes, I made things difficult for you today. Li Fan also felt embarrassed, but then he thought, but if you didn't come to make trouble today, you wouldn't have suffered this grievance. You mean it's my fault? It's my fault, it's all my fault. Tell me, what do you want me to do? I'll promise you. Li Fan's heart softened, while Liu Xinnan laughed. Chapter 185. Liu Xinnan's smile made Li Fan feel uneasy. Don't covet my body. I'm not that kind of person. Li Fan immediately hugged his shoulders and looked at Liu Xinnan warily. Fat. Liu Xinnan scolded, who would be interested in a guy like you? I'm just thinking about what I should ask you to do for me. Be more reliable. I won't do something like selling my body. Get lost. Who wants your stinky body? Liu Xinnan looked at Li Fan in disgust. But on second thought, she sat down on the sofa opposite Li Fan. If that's the case, I'd like to enjoy the feeling of being a master. She stretched out a hand and hooked it at Li Fan. Come here, give this miss a massage on the shoulders and legs. Don't go too far. Li Fan seemed to be annoyed, but Liu Xinnan immediately said, Hey, hey, hey. You promised me one thing. I'm not going too far. I just want you to be my servant for a while. Can't you do that? Don't forget that I've been your servant for a long time. When have I ever served anyone? I've even been scolded. Fine, fine. What's the big deal? Do you want me to dig coal for you? That's not necessary. Hurry up and massage my shoulders and legs. Got it, Xiao Li. Do a good job and I'll reward you. Liu Xinnan smiled, but Li Fan knew that this was not a normal smile. It was more like a naughty one. Xiao Li, my legs are a bit sore. Come here and give them a good massage. Don't you practice martial arts? Your hand strength should be good, right? Can you call me by my name? Don't call me Xiao Li. It sounds like a eunuch. Xiao Li is so kind. Liu Xinnan said, I like to call you Xiao Li. You're my servant now, so you must listen to me. Do you understand? Little Li? What the fuck? Li Fan was so angry that his teeth itched. This Liu Xinnan is still breathing. He really shouldn't have made this promise with her. What a pain in the ass. However, since it was a promise, Li Fan could only squat down and massage Liu Xinnan's calf. Why don't you have any strength? Are you still a man? Ah. Are you going to break my leg? Why don't you have any sense of propriety? You can't even be a servant. What a waste. Fuck, she was really applying what she had learned on the spot. She had even used it on herself. Li Fan had no choice but to follow Liu Xinnan's wishes and give her a massage according to her request. Li Fan's fighting skills were not learned for nothing. When he massaged, he could stimulate the acupuncture points on Liu Xinnan's body to give her a deeper massage. Liu Xinnan enjoyed this treatment. Even if it was uncomfortable, it was Li Fan who was giving her the massage. This was more comfortable than anything else. Looking at Liu Xinnan's satisfied expression, Li Fan couldn't help but curse her as a pervert in his heart. This woman really likes to build her happiness on her own pain. He finally understood. If it wasn't for the mission to cooperate, he would really want to stay away from this woman. Xiao Li, I didn't realize before that your ability to massage people's bones is also so strong. Liu Xinnan couldn't help but let out a soft moan. In order to alleviate this invisible charm, Liu Xinnan began to find some topics to talk about. I think you can put off the matter of your escort agency. Why don't you make a blind massage first? I'm not a busy person. You're right. It's my fault. Liu Xinnan nodded. It should be a pervert's massage. Snake woman, are you looking for a fight? Look at you, why are you so violent? Liu Xinnan scolded him. As your friend, I'm thinking of you. It's all for your own good. Not only are you not grateful to me, you're even scolding me. Sigh, sure enough, in this society, it's hard to be a good person. That's enough. Li Fan was speechless. This woman was really full of tricks. No wonder after mingling in society for so long, this woman had become a demon. Being too close to her, he had to be 120% vigilant to prevent her from having any bad thoughts towards him. Otherwise, if he was sold by this woman, he might even have to count the money for her. Her level of black-bellied was not inferior to Murong's. These two women were both good at acting. Li Fan, are you really not going to consider following me? Liu Xinnan still did not give up. This lady is not stupid. I can totally see that you're not happy in this house. Since you're not happy, why do you want to continue living? When you come to my place, this lady promises to give you the best treatment. Villa, luxury car, status. You can make your own decisions, and no one will order you around anymore. What you said is very tempting. Li Fan pondered for a moment, then said, but I don't want to ask for charity from anyone. My future path will be paved by myself. I'm very grateful that you're thinking of me. As for this question, let's end it here. Why are you so stubborn? Liu Xinnan angrily rolled her eyes. I wanted to help you but was rejected. How can you be like this? Haha. I'm really sorry. I'm just a bit stubborn. Li Fan said with a smile, including everything in Murong's house. It has nothing to do with me. I make my own decisions about my own fate. You're annoying. Liu Xinnan was a little unhappy. As a dignified lady, everything was always within her grasp. But she just couldn't handle this matter. He was just a high school student. Why couldn't he do what she wanted? Liu Xinnan was indeed very annoyed, extremely annoyed. She had never encountered such a thing since she was young. For a rich young lady like her, it was truly torturous. It was heart-wrenching. It was really annoying. Give me a foot massage. Liu Xinnan ordered angrily. Li Fan was almost drunk. Do your feet stink? Stink your sister. You're the one with stinky feet. Your whole family has stinky feet. She pointed to her feet and said, this lady's feet smell good. Good. Do you know? This is the first time I've heard of anyone's feet that smell good. Li Fan was very annoyed. Did you put perfume on your feet? It's a natural body fragrance. Do you understand? I've heard of body fragrance before, but this is the first time I've heard of it coming from the feet. Li Fan wiped his cold sweat. Snake woman, I only found out today that you're not a human. Get lost. You're the one who's not a human. She originally wanted to order Li Fan around, but she didn't expect to be angered by Li Fan. Just as Liu Xinnan was thinking of a way to deal with Li Fan, footsteps came from outside. Chapter 186. The two of them stared blankly. Who came? But no matter who it was, there was no way to explain this scene. Hide. Li Fan had no other choice. In order to not cause any unnecessary misunderstanding, he could only say that. Humph. Liu Xinnan seemed to be somewhat unhappy. Following Li Fan, she had never encountered anything good. This damned guy actually wanted her to hide. Liu Xinnan looked left and right and found that the only place to hide was behind the curtains. The curtains were blackout curtains, which was very convenient. Liu Xinnan gritted her teeth and hid behind the thick curtains, concealing her body. She was also curious, who would come looking for Li Fan? The door of the study room was slowly pushed open, and a small figure slipped in. Liu Xinnan did not know who the person was, but she could hear it. When Li Fan saw this person, his heart beat faster. Brother-in-law. So you're hiding here. Murong closed the door behind her and then bounced to the front of Li Fan. Unexpectedly, she directly sat in Li Fan's arms. Li Fan almost threw Murong out. What are you doing? Please behave yourself. Aya, why should I behave myself in front of my brother-in-law's husband? Murong giggled. Isn't there an old saying that goes, little aunt, brother-in-law's half-wife? Where did you hear this nonsense from? Li Fan did not know whether to laugh or cry. How come I have never heard such nonsense? Then didn't you hear it now? Murong Ying wrapped her arms around Li Fan's neck and said in a sweet voice, Brother-in-law, I haven't seen you for a long time. I miss you. Don't you miss me? You've obviously done that kind of thing with me. Li Fan felt the curtain tremble a bit. Murong also felt it. She immediately turned her head, frowned, and tenderly scolded. Who? Don't make a fuss. It's the wind. Li Fan hurriedly corrected Murong's love words. Also, we didn't do anything between us. It was just a misunderstanding last time. Brother-in-law, husband, why are you in such a hurry? There are no outsiders here. Could it be that my sister is hiding here and eavesdropping? Murong asked with a smile. Li Fan's forehead began to sweat. Although your sister isn't here, there's an even more troublesome woman here. Brother-in-law, husband, don't worry. I won't tell anyone about us. Murong said coquettishly, I like brother-in-law's husband so much. As long as I can be with brother-in-law's husband, I'd rather be a mistress. Xiao Ari, what exactly do you want? Just say it directly. Why do you have to beat around the bush and be secretive? Li Fan decided to be frank with Murong. Otherwise, it would not be a good idea to keep doing this. Brother-in-law, I'm not happy when you talk about me like that. Murong pouted with some grievance. I really like brother-in-law's husband. I want to give birth to a child for brother-in-law's husband. Li Fan almost threw Murong out of the window. How old are you? How can you say such a thing? Li Fan said. If Liu Xinnan heard it, how could she let it go? He hoped she wouldn't tell others. It would be best if she didn't even believe it. After all, even he didn't believe it. Murong, let me ask you, what do you like about me? Li Fan couldn't help but ask. Well, Murong seemed to be a little hesitant. Li Fan smiled. Can't say it. Murong, what are you playing at? Just say it. Brother-in-law, how can you say that? I'm just a little girl. How can I have so many motives when I like someone? Firstly, I don't want your money. Secondly, I don't want your power. I simply like you. When you're around, I'll be happy. When you're not around, I'll miss you. When you're happy, I'll be happy. When you're unhappy, I'll be sad. Brother-in-law, tell me, if this isn't called liking someone, then what is? This? Probably. Anyway, Li Fan really didn't know what to say. This Murong had always been weird. Li Fan naturally had a lot of doubts about what she said. Now, she even played such a trick, leaving Li Fan helpless. As the saying goes, women have 3 magic weapons. First, cry, second, and third, hang. Although Murong was still in the first stage, Li Fan believed that with her ability, she could enter the other 2 states at any time. Brother-in-law, I really like you. Murong, just say it directly. What do you want from me? If you want it, I'll give it to you. Brother-in-law, why don't you believe me? Murong became a little anxious. I really like you. Brother-in-law, how can I make you believe me? As Murong Ari thought about it, she began to tear off her clothes. Brother-in-law, husband, you can take my body here. This should be enough to prove it. Li Fan was so scared that he quickly pressed down on Murong. This girl really wanted to die. All right, I believe you, I believe you. Li Fan raised the white flag. Second, Miss Murong, please don't act recklessly. Brother-in-law, it's you who doesn't believe me. Li Fan really didn't know what Murong was planning. He could only vaguely feel that this girl was very dangerous. Brother-in-law, you won't lose anything. Just agree to me, okay? Murong muttered in her heart, can't I deal with you, you big pervert? Men were all like this. They obviously wanted to do something wrong even in their dreams, but they still had to pretend that they absolutely couldn't. Hypocritical guy, I'll make you obediently surrender. Pure young body belongs to this lady. Not good. Li Fan's mind was very clear. He glanced at Murong Ari, who was acting like a spoiled child. Xiao Ari, although I don't know your real purpose, I can vaguely feel that it has something to do with my pure young body. You yourself said that you have a pure yin body. If you and I dual cultivate, we'll get twice the result with half the effort. Perhaps this is one of the reasons why you approached me. I hope so. You don't understand. Pure yang body and pure yin body are mutually attracted to each other. Murong began to fabricate nonsense, her mouth full of lies. The 2 of us were originally a match made in heaven. I don't believe in fate. Li Fan smiled. Xiao Ari, you're quite beautiful, but you have to put your heart in the right place. Hateful. Why don't you believe me? Murong continued to make her last effort, but at this time, footsteps came from outside the door again. The 2 of them looked at each other, and Murong subconsciously looked at the big curtain at the side. That's not safe. Hide behind the bookcase. Chapter 187. This time, Murong Ari is obedient. Without hesitation, she hides behind the bookcase. Li Fan breathed a sigh of relief for the time being. At least he wouldn't meet Liu Xinnan. But who is the person who came this time? Is there an end to this? Can't the young master read a book for a while? Just when Li Fan is full of complaints, someone knocks on the door of the study room. Li Fan, are you inside? Open the door. Damn, when this girl Murong Ari came in, she actually locked the door. Li Fan sincerely admires her. What does this girl want to do? Li Fan. Murong Ying urges him again. Li Fan stretches out his hand and twists the doorknob. He releases his pure true qi and acts on the doorknob. Following Li Fan's action, the doorknob is opened. Murong Ying leisurely walks in. Seeing Li Fan, she first teases him. In order to hide from my father, you even locked the door? If I say I didn't lock it, would you believe me? Li Fan is speaking from the bottom of his heart. Humph, you're lying again. Murong Ying rolls her eyes at Li Fan. Even if you don't like my father, you don't need to lock yourself up. Your father's fighting strength is too strong. I admit defeat. Li Fan finally experienced it. If I can't afford to provoke him, I can afford to hide. I want to be quiet here. An ugly daughter-in-law will eventually have to see her in-laws. Fuck, I'm not an ugly daughter-in-law. Li Fan is very unhappy. When your father comes, this place is basically not in a daze. I've thought about it. Whichever day he stays here, I will go to the billiard hall and live there. What if he doesn't leave? Then I will settle down in the billiard hall. Li Fan pursed his lips. Anyway, I'm fine with it. I'm a man, and the world is my home. What's more, this is Murong's property, and the house was built by Murong's family. I won't fight or snatch, I'll leave with nothing. Leaving with nothing? You make it sound like we're divorced. Missy, we're not married, okay? Li Fan reminded Murong Ying, don't get it wrong. Isn't it just a piece of paper? I can compensate you at any time. You and I are not of legal age to get married, right? The law cannot interfere with my Murong family. Alright, you're awesome, but if you want to get married, I'm not willing. Li Fan said hatefully. I, Li Fan, will not be a live-in son-in-law. Look, why are you so emotional? It was rare for Murong Ying to soften her tone. I know my father is a bit too much, but he dotes on his daughter. I hope you can understand. After all, you're going to be a father in the future. Anyway, I can't accept it. Li Fan told the truth. Your father is too overbearing. Ordinary people can't stand it. Tell me the truth, is it because he doesn't like me? It doesn't matter if I dress like a refined scum or not. He just likes those aristocratic family disciples. He thinks that those aristocratic family disciples are the ones who have received orthodox education. There are countless shining points on them. But you, from a grassroots background, are not an orthodox martial artist. So you'll never be able to enter his eyes. What's wrong with that? I'm the one who chooses the man, not him. Murong Ying overbearingly said, those aristocratic family disciples are not attractive to me. On the other hand, you, a mere high school student, relied on your own hard work to become an expert who had reached the next level. On the contrary, if you were an aristocratic family disciple, I would not be interested in you. So, you're interested in me? Li Fan asked back. Murong Ying snorted and looked at the curtain. My impression of you is only slightly higher than other men. Don't overestimate yourself. One day, I will make all of you look up to me. Li Fan held his head high and his eyes were full of confidence in himself. You have to do what you say. Murong Ying reminded Li Fan. I, Murong Ying, have seen a lot of people who talk but don't practice. You'll see. Li Fan clenched his fist. This Murong Ying gave him a lot of psychological pressure every day. Was she not afraid that he would collapse? But if you want to grow quickly, I can teach you the martial god technique. Murong Ying once again promoted her martial god technique. This martial god technique's predecessor is the secret technique that I obtained after winning the martial arts tournament, Battle of the Realm. However, under my modifications, this martial god technique was created. After practicing the martial god technique, coupled with your unique talent, I think that even if you are a bit more stupid, you can quickly enter the peak of martial arts. How can this be? Li Fan waved his hand. First, my 7 heroes force has unlimited potential. It is not necessarily worse than your martial god technique. Secondly, learning martial arts must be done step by step. It cannot be done in one go. I have already improved very quickly. If I were to be a bit faster, I'm afraid that I will not be able to suppress the growth of my heart's demon. As his martial arts realm deepened, Li Fan also became more and more clear. He knew when to be anxious and when to be steady. Oh! Murong Ying was a bit surprised. She did not expect that Li Fan had also mastered the martial arts realm to this extent. It seemed that the 5 flowers blooming together was not a coincidence. Perhaps, she had really created an amazing martial artist, Li Fan. Since that's the case, Murong Ying seemed to want to say something to Li Fan, but Murong Bo's loud voice came from outside. My baby daughter, where are you? Murong Ying frowned. She originally ran out to hide from her father, Hearing that the other party was looking for her, she immediately wanted to hide. Behind the sofa, Li Fan pointed. Murong Ying slightly hesitated, but still squatted behind the sofa, and then gave Li Fan a look, meaning not to make a sound. Murong Bo's footsteps had already reached the door of the room. He pushed the door and found that it was still locked. Why is there a locked room in this house? As Murong Bo said, the door suddenly flew up with a bang, smashing on a bookshelf next to it. Fortunately, the bookshelf was strong enough, and Li Fan reached out and held the slanted bookshelf. Li Fan, how come it's you? Murong Bo saw Li Fan and frowned. Father-in-law, didn't I say that I wanted to come to the study to read? You have a short memory and forgot about it. Although Li Fan was unhappy, he still cupped his hands and said to Murong Bo, kid, don't play tricks with me. Do you think I can't feel that you are hiding a few women? As Murong Bo said, he suddenly reached out and directly broke the wooden board of a bookshelf next to him, then crushed it into 3 pieces, threw it out, and went straight to the place where the 3 women were hiding. Chapter 188. Li Fan reached out and caught the piece of wood that hit the curtain. The remaining 2 pieces of wood were caught by Murong Ying and Murong Ari at the same time. But Murong Bo was astute. He probably knew that Li Fan would help. Although he caught the piece of wood, a burst of true qi burst out from the wood and hit the curtain behind. With a swish, the curtain was cut into 2 pieces by the true qi. Liu Xinan's figure was also revealed, wearing a black and white maid dress. Her expression was as awkward as it could be. Murong Ying and Murong Ari looked at each other, not knowing what happened. Why are you guys here? Murong Bo himself was surprised. If Liu Xinan, the maid, was having an affair, he would definitely believe it. But now, with the addition of his eldest and youngest daughters, something was not right. I came to talk to Li Fan. We are engaged, so there's nothing to hide. Murong Ying simply said, and Murong Ari quickly raised her hand. I came to ask brother-in-law some questions about martial art. When my sister came, I was reading a book at the back. Seeing the 2 of them chatting seriously, I was too embarrassed to come out. If I said I've been cleaning the glass, would you believe it? Liu Xinan dryly laughed twice. The 3 women all had a guilty conscience, so they couldn't say anything. But Murong Bo didn't have this concern. He waved his hand at Liu Xinan. You, a servant, how can you come to the master's room? What a scandal. I've long felt that there was something wrong with you. Are you the woman of this guy? Be polite. Liu Xinan was finally unhappy. This old thing, did he really think he was the emperor? I don't owe you anything. It's my first day at work, and I haven't even received my salary. What right do you have to yell at me? Do you think you're the local emperor? Let me tell you, no matter who you are, you'd better stay put in City A. Such arrogance. In this era, even a servant dares to speak so impudently. Looks like he really needs to be disciplined. Murong raised her right hand as if she was going to teach Liu Xinan a lesson. However, Liu Xinan was just an ordinary person. How could she withstand Murong's power? Just as Murong was about to make a move, Li Fan took a step forward and stood between the 2 of them. I'm really sorry, this is actually my friend. I hope Uncle Murong can give me some face and be lenient. Give you face. When Murong heard this, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. Li Fan, Li Fan, you really think too highly of yourself. Who do you think you are? I, Murong, have roamed the world for so many years. How many people act according to my face? Why should I give face to a nobody like you? No matter what, I'm also your future son-in-law. Son-in-law? Stop dreaming. I've never admitted it. Now it's because my eldest daughter likes you that I let her stay with you temporarily. Do you think this is the reason for you to step into the rich and powerful? Li Fan, let me tell you, don't even think about it in this life. You're a loser, and always will be, in this life, and in the next life too. Don't go too far. Li Fan felt that he had reached the limit of his endurance. Li Fan, my father just said a few words to you. Just listen. Murong Ying repeatedly winked at Li Fan, indicating him to continue to endure. I endure. I'll endure my dick. I can't bear it anymore. Li Fan was already hopping mad. He took off his glasses and threw them on the ground. Murong Bo, I'll fuck your ancestors. Young master has had enough of you. Today it's either you or me. As Li Fan spoke, his figure suddenly leaped forward, leaving an afterimage as he quickly approached Murong Bo. Murong Bo stood there calmly. Just as Li Fan's palm was about to grab Murong Bo's face, a figure suddenly flashed from the side. With a strong gust of wind, he instantly appeared in front of Li Fan. This was a thin figure. He stretched out his right hand and grabbed Li Fan's wrist. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan coldly. His eyes looked like he was looking at a dead man. Li Fan and Jiang Feng looked at each other. Both of them looked at each other. There was no hatred in Li Fan's eyes, but there was sympathy. You too. Don't be impulsive. Murong Ying was taken aback. She wanted to stop them, but it was too late. How dare you sympathize with me? Jiang Feng's eyes flashed with anger. His fingers exerted a bit more strength. It seemed like he wanted to break Li Fan's wrist. However, Li Fan was not a vegetarian. He swayed his body like a pendulum. His other hand's fist carried a rotating force and punched toward Jiang Feng. With a bang, the air seemed to be shattered by Li Fan's fist. The true energy on the fist swept up the dust in the air and exploded in the air. Jiang Feng moved his forehead to the side, avoiding Li Fan's fist technique. He himself was a bit surprised. It had only been a short period of time. Li Fan's strength had actually improved to this level. If this fist landed on his body, he was afraid that with Jiang Feng's strength, he would also be seriously injured. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at in a new light. Could this saying be true? That was also impossible. This improvement was too fast. He had cultivated for a long time before he entered the next level. But this kid only used a month or so, and he had already entered the next level. Without waiting for Jiang Feng to understand, Li Fan's spirit snake comes out of its hole turned the tables. Not only did he dissolve Jiang Feng's blockade, but he also attacked Jiang Feng's throat. Although Jiang Feng was surprised, his hands did not stop moving. He stretched out his right hand and blocked his throat. At the same time, he tried to grab Li Fan's palm. But Li Fan's spirit snake comes out of its hole became more and more unpredictable. He suddenly twisted his hand and once again avoided Jiang Feng's palm. Then, 2 of his fingers were like fangs, digging toward Jiang Feng's eyeballs. It was just a right hand, but it was really like a poisonous snake. It caused a lot of trouble for Jiang Feng, but the title of Murong Bo's last disciple was not just for show. Jiang Feng immediately stretched out his other hand. Both his fingers pointed at Li Fan's wrist and poked. 12 acupoint's hands. If these 2 fingers poked, perhaps Li Fan's arm would be crippled. But Li Fan suddenly shouted. The sound of a fierce tiger roaring in the forest shook Jiang Feng until he took 3 steps back. Only then did he stand firm. Such strong true energy, even Jiang Feng could not help but exclaim. Could it be that eldest miss gave her power to Li Fan again? Impossible. Looking at eldest Miss's appearance, her martial arts had obviously recovered a lot. Today's battle, I must win. As Murong Bo's disciple, I was actually similar to his shadow. Chapter 189. Jiang Feng had his own conviction. He had to defeat Li Fan. Jiang Feng's 12 acupoint hands was unleashed to the extreme as he attacked Li Fan again and again. Jiang Feng's 12 acupoint hands was the ultimate technique that he had painstakingly cultivated for many years. When executed, it was extremely powerful. Accompanied by the sound of wind, it was specially aimed at the vital acupoints on Li Fan's body. But Li Fan was not to be trifled with. He was no longer the Li Fan that Jiang Feng had fought previously. With a roar, the clothes on his body immediately began to tear apart. In the blink of an eye, Li Fan had already expanded into a 1.9 meters tall burly man. The muscles on his body looked like they were about to explode. Aberration bone-changing. When Murong and Jiang Feng saw this scene, their hearts were filled with shock. How could this Li Fan have such talent? This was one of the 3 great martial arts techniques. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan with a hint of jealousy in his eyes. He had trained bitterly for so many years and had yet to comprehend any of the three great martial arts techniques. But what capabilities did Li Fan have to actually be able to learn this aberration bone changing? Aberration bone changing was known as the ultimate close combat killing technique. It could greatly enhance one's close combat ability. Most of Li Fan's martial arts were close combat. After obtaining the aberration bone changing, it was undoubtedly like adding wings to a tiger. Furthermore, the aberration bone changing strengthened the body's muscles. His ability to withstand attacks was also more outstanding. Jiang Feng's acupoint hands poked Li Fan's body a few times, but most of the force was dissipated by his muscles. Bear, mount, army. Li Fan brought out his strongest combat ability. After strengthening his body, his strength of 6 tigers was close to 7 tigers. The strength of his body was like the surging of the sea. I don't believe that I can't hurt you. Jiang Feng's 2 hands continuously poked at Li Fan's vital acupoints. As for Li Fan, he did not care about Jiang Feng's attacks at all. Bear cavalry soldiers were like this. They abandoned all defense and attacked. Attack, attack. He swung his fist, which suddenly swung up like a pendulum, and smashed towards Jiang Feng's head. Jiang Feng sensed that something was wrong. He gave up on his attack, retracted his hands, and placed them in front of his head. Bang! Li Fan's fist landed on his face, but it was temporarily blocked by Jiang Feng's hands. However, the power of the fist could not be completely blocked. Jiang Feng's hands sank, and then his own hands pressed down on his face, causing his face to contort. Then, driven by the force, his body spun rapidly, and then spun several times in a row. Finally, he smashed into the bookcase next to him, smashing through it. Murong was a little surprised. Her favorite disciple actually failed. Unbelievable. He was well aware of Jiang Feng's strength. How could the disciple that he had personally taught lose to Li Fan, a person who had only joined the sect halfway? But what surprised Murong the most was Li Fan. In such a short period of time, his strength had improved so much, and he even comprehended the abnormality bone-changing technique. His 5 animal frolics allowed him to cultivate a peerless external technique. She had misjudged him back then. If Li Fan had used the abnormality bone-changing technique, Jiang Feng might not have been able to defeat him. Murong, this old fox, calculated in his heart. He couldn't help but sigh. Looks like Jiang Feng won't be able to win. His talent is too lacking. Bang! The bookcase on the other side was suddenly smashed open. Jiang Feng stood up from inside, and there were a few pieces of wood stuck in his body. His originally white robe was a little tattered, and his hair was in a mess. His previous confident look was gone. Jiang Feng, you have done your best. Step down. Murong Ying seemed to feel that the atmosphere was a little strange, and immediately reprimanded. But Jiang Feng suddenly raised his head, and his eyes were suffused with a red glow. Li Fan, I want you to die. Jiang Feng stretched out a finger and pointed at Li Fan. His voice was filled with cold killing intent. Unity of heart and demon? Murong was shocked again. In this room, he actually had all 3 of the martial arts moves: turning illusion into reality, abnormality bone-changing technique, unity of heart and demon. When did Jiang Feng comprehend this move? Every martial artist would have a heart demon growing in their heart. Some people were controlled by their heart demon and went berserk, turning into a devil with an incomplete mind. And some people defeated their heart demon and transformed into a resolute martial arts master. But some people, and a very small number of people, could control their heart demon and cultivate unity of heart and demon. What is a heart demon? It is a person's own instinct. Relying on instinct to fight can greatly increase a person's strength. Jiang Feng's figure suddenly flashed, and in a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Li Fan. The surrounding books were moved by his figure. A cool breeze swept up the books and brought them up into the air. Under the state of unity of heart and demon, Jiang Feng's speed was so fast that even Murong couldn't see it clearly. This kind of fighting method can only be executed by relying on instinct, and only then can it be resisted. Jiang Feng's acupuncture point hand pierced towards Li Fan's Achilles heel with lightning speed. His pride had suffered the greatest insult, So Jiang Feng, who had entered the state of unity of heart and demon, did not have any mercy, and was prepared to get rid of Li Fan in one move. But speed may be useful for others, but it was useless against Li Fan. In Li Fan's eyes, no matter how fast Jiang Feng was, he would still be slowed down. Looking at the two fingers that were piercing towards his Achilles heel, Li Fan only laughed, and did not care at all. In an instant, he slapped Jiang Feng's chest. Ursa Major Seal. In the eyes of outsiders, it was as if Jiang Feng had sent himself over to be hit by Li Fan. Jiang Feng's mind flashed with this terrifying ending. He had not even stabbed Li Fan, and his chest was about to burst. The advantage of unity of heart and demon was that he would not let anger drown his reason, and could maintain a correct attack method. Jiang Feng did not hesitate, and immediately retracted his attack, and took 3 steps back. But Li Fan's palm did not hit Jiang Feng, but followed up with a palm, and grabbed Jiang Feng's shoulder. Jiang Feng was stunned, and before he could react, Li Fan had already grabbed his body, and lifted him into the air. Uncle Xiong Pile Driver. As Li Fan spoke, he grabbed Jiang Feng with both hands, and smashed his head towards the ground, as if he was really driving a pile, and smashed it towards the ground. Enough. Murong finally could not sit still. He waved his hand, and a strong wave of true qi swept across Li Fan, sweeping him 2 steps back, and one of his feet left a deep footprint on the ground. Murong Ying did not speak, but the corner of her mouth curled up into a smile. The last time, it was Jiang Feng who almost killed Li Fan by mistake, and she stopped Jiang Feng. She did not expect that so soon. It was Li Fan who almost killed Jiang Feng by mistake, and her father who stopped him. Every dog has its day, and it was just that fast. She really did not choose the wrong man. Murong Bo, you actually stopped the 2 of us from fighting? Li Fan finally found a chance to vent. Chapter 190. If I don't stop you, my disciple's life will be in your hand. Murong Bo immediately reprimands. Life and death are decreed by fate, riches and honor are determined by heaven. Li Fan chuckled. I remember that we had a year's appointment. Now it seems that there is no need for this so-called agreement. He lost. Moreover, it is a crushing defeat. With that, Li Fan looks at Jiang Feng, who is squatting there. Hero Jiang, who might be a little crazy, didn't you want to tell me what is the real martial arts world? Madman. Jiang Feng stands up. Because Li Fan's father Bear Pile Driver did not hit him, he is not injured and is still full of confidence, but relying on the 11 years of true qi that I absorbed from Big Miss, I have today's stander. If not for Big Miss, you are nothing. Good. Hearing this, Li Fan's body trembles. You are right. As Li Fan speaks, he places his hand on Murong Ying's shoulder. I will return these 11 years of true qi to you. Dragon Toad absorbing water. The reverse is Dragon Toad spitting water. This is another use of the pure yang body that Li Fan discovered. As long as the true qi in his body reverses, he can transfer his true qi to others. This true qi was originally obtained from Murong Ying's body. Now that it is sent back, it will not be wasted and is smoothly absorbed by Murong Ying. Without waiting for Murong Ying to resist, a whole 11 years of true qi has already returned to her body. Li Fan has now lost a large amount of true qi and his strength has temporarily regressed, falling back to the level of perfection. His face is pale and his internal organs are in pain, but his voice is still loud. This is the true qi that I cultivated myself. Jiang Feng, let's compete again. Good. Jiang Feng laughs sinisterly and his body suddenly flashes again. After entering the state of heart and demon as one, Jiang Feng's speed was like that of a ghost. In the blink of an eye, he was already behind Li Fan. Then, 2 fingers continued to pierce into Li Fan's Achilles heel. The back of a person's neck also had an Achilles heel. It was very dangerous. There were many people who practiced the Iron Shirt's golden bell shield. Their defense was extremely high, but this was the only weak point. Once it was broken, their golden bodies would also be broken. Although Li Fan's body was weak and his internal energy was weakened, he was still a person who had opened the God-connecting meridian. Although he couldn't see Jiang Feng's movements clearly, he felt the hairs on his neck tremble. Without hesitation, Li Fan raised his palm and slapped it on his lower abdomen. Ursa Major Seal. Pu. The palm wind from the Bear King seal immediately pierced through Li Fan's abdomen, and with fresh blood, it once again struck Li Fan's chest. Bang! A palm print landed on Jiang Feng's chest, immediately shattering a few of his ribs. If Jiang Feng hadn't used his true qi to protect his body in time, in addition to the fact that Li Fan's internal energy was slightly weaker and his own abdomen had weakened a little, the palm wind would have directly pierced through Jiang Feng's heart. Even so, Jiang Feng's body still flew up high and fell on the sofa beside him. He sat there dispiritedly, unable to move. His heart had suffered such a strong attack, and it would take a while for him to recover. And Li Fan also spat out a mouthful of blood. He half-squatted on the ground and used his true qi to seal the blood vessels on his lower abdomen to prevent himself from losing too much blood and dying. This move caused both sides to lose. As the saying goes, injuring 1,000 enemies, injuring 800. Although he had severely injured Jiang Feng, Li Fan himself had also suffered a great deal of damage. So, what else do you have to say? Li Fan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Jiang Feng with a smile. If you're not satisfied, let's fight again. Jiang Feng didn't even have the strength to speak, and Murong Bo's face was also pale. He really didn't expect that Li Fan, who had reached the point of perfection, would actually injure his beloved disciple. This Li Fan was really ruthless. He actually used a move that would cause both sides to lose. Even if it was Jiang Feng, he probably had no way to predict such a brutal move. He was beaten to this state, and would not be able to recover for at least half a month. Murong Bo, I don't owe your Murong family anything now. Li Fan said loudly, even if I, Li Fan, can't beat you, I will risk my life to fight with you. Murong Bo, although I am from a grassroots background, have no money and no background, but let me tell you, don't look down on a youth, especially a man. At this moment, Murong Bo couldn't say a single word. Being stung by Li Fan's gaze, he could only swallow his saliva. Dad, Xiao Ari, tonight my fiancé might not be feeling well. You guys go back first, I need to treat his injury. Murong Ying suddenly ordered them to leave. Xiao Ying. This man, what do you like about him? Don't tell me he doesn't have any flaws. His flaws are as many as the stars. Murong Ying said lightly. Then what about his good points? Murong Ari couldn't help but ask. His good points are as few as the sun. Then you still like him? Murong Bo immediately asked. Because when the sun comes out, the stars disappear. Murong Ying's words made Murong Bo speechless. Let's go home. Men, carry Jiang Feng back. This old fox flicked his sleeve, turned around and walked away. 2 bodyguards walked in and carefully carried Jiang Feng away. After they left, Li Fan glanced at Murong Ying. What you said just now, is it true? What did I say just now? Murong Ying looked at Li Fan as if nothing had happened. That, the stars and the moon. What stars and moon? You've read too many interstellar novels. Murong Ying turned around. You've gone too far today, I'm very angry, I won't talk to you today. Before she left, she instructed Tai Zhu, give him the heart protection pill, let him take it. Yes, eldest Miss Tai Zhu took out a golden pill and handed it to Li Fan. This woman, I really don't understand, it's time for her to take the pill. Li Fan felt that Murong and her family were all crazy. Son-in-law. This heart protection pill was accidentally obtained by eldest Miss when she was traveling in the pugilistic world. Tai Zhu lowered his voice and said to Li Fan, this heart protection pill can save lives, it can almost be said to have the effect of bringing the dead back to life. Eldest Miss only had 2 of them, she was never willing to eat them. Fuck, it's so expensive, then I won't eat it. Li Fan pushed the pill away, but Tai Zhu stuffed it into his hand. Son-in-law lost too much of his true qi tonight, and was seriously injured. If you don't adjust your breathing as soon as possible, leaving behind a small problem is a big problem. Son-in-law, quickly take the pill, I'll go clean up the house. After saying this, Tai Zhu turned around and went back to work. Although the study room was also a mess, at least it was quiet now. Li Fan glanced at the golden pill in his hand and hesitated for a long time. Chapter 191. Heart Protection Pill. This is a good thing. Li Fan looked at the golden pill in his hand, hesitated for a long time, and did not have the heart to eat it. Taizhu shouldn't be lying, so this pill must be very valuable. Moreover, if he could really come back to life, there would definitely be a time when it would be useful. Right now, he only suffered a small injury, and although he lost a lot of blood, it should not be a problem after some recovery. Li Fan thought for a long time, and finally decided not to eat this pill. He tore a page from the magazine beside him, carefully wrapped the pill, and then put it into his small pocket. My life is tough. Li Fan had already used his true qi to seal a few of the blood vessels above his wound, so that the blood would not flow out. Although the true qi had pierced through his lower abdomen, it only caused some pinhole injuries, and the impact would not be too serious. Li Fan sat cross-legged on the ground, while using his qi to heal his wound, he began to restore his true qi. Today, he almost consumed half of his life, and in a fit of anger, not to mention giving Murongying 11 years of true qi, he also seriously injured himself. The emptiness of his true qi made Li Fan feel that his heart demon was constantly threatening him. If he did not restore his true qi soon, he was afraid that his heart demon would become even more rampant. Kill him, kill them. Murong's family should all die. That voice crazily lingered in his ears, disturbing Li Fan's mind. Shut up. Li Fan reprimanded, and cleared his mind, so that he could maintain absolute clarity. He must not let his heart demon take control of him, so that his hard work in cultivation would all be wasted. Li Fan operated his power, letting the remaining true qi circulate in his body. The true qi of the 7 heroes' force circulated in his body according to the big and small cycle, and at the same time, passed through the spirit-connecting meridian. This meridian seemed to open a shortcut for Li Fan, allowing his true qi to circulate even faster. Every time it circulated, Li Fan could feel his true qi quickly recovering. Although energy was conserved, true qi was somewhat special. As long as the zhenqi in one's body was not completely exhausted, one could use the circulation of zhenqi to nourish qi. Li Fan had once wondered what true qi was. It was invisible and odorless, an existence that could not be explained by science. But according to Li Fan's own description, this true qi was more like a type of energy in his body. If the human body wanted to move and work, it needed energy to maintain it. Usually, humans relied on absorbing food and water to obtain energy, but zhenqi was a little special. Not only could it be absorbed from food, but it could also be absorbed from the circulation of zhenqi and strengthened. The meridians were like a core reactor. The circulation of true qi was like a nuclear reaction, or a rotating windmill, relying on these movements to generate more energy. The dantian was like a battery that stored the energy. When needed, it could be mobilized. Although Li Fan had released too much true qi at once, he still had the power of his 7 gallant force in his body. At the same time, after sending away Murongying's 11 years of true qi, Li Fan felt that his true qi seemed to have become purer. It seemed that after returning Murongying's true qi, it actually refined the true qi in his body. Now, the true qi in Li Fan's body was more cohesive. To describe it, the density seemed to be higher than before. To Li Fan, this was undoubtedly a very good news. It was really a blessing in disguise. As he pondered, he continued to quickly recover his true qi. In the blink of an eye, he did not know how long he had sunk into the state of cultivation. When Li Fan opened his eyes again, he felt extremely hungry. The surrounding sky was already bright. Did I practice for the whole night? Li Fan stretched his waist. Other than being hungry, he felt refreshed. It was as if his whole body had been reborn. So comfortable. Li Fan happily said, "This is much more comfortable." The wound on Li Fan's lower abdomen had already healed by more than half. He did not need to use his true qi to seal it, and it was no longer bleeding. Moreover, the true qi in his body had also recovered to its previous level. It had reached the next level. The strength of 6 tigers. To be able to recover to this level in just one night, he was truly a genius. Just as Li Fan was secretly praising himself, Taizhu just happened to push open the door and entered. Seeing that Li Fan had woken up, he was immediately pleasantly surprised. "Son-in-law, you're awake? You must be hungry. I'll go prepare a meal for you." "Thank you. I haven't eaten for the whole night. I'm indeed a bit hungry. Li Fan thought about how he had been busy venting his anger on Murong and did not eat well. Now that his appetite had returned, he could have a good meal. Son-in-law. How is it just one night? You haven't eaten for 3 days and 3 nights. 3 days and 3 nights. Li Fan was somewhat surprised. It's actually been that long? Yes, son-in-law. Taiju nodded his head, but looking at son-in-law's appearance, it shouldn't be a big problem. Ian, it's no big problem. Then go and get me something to eat. Li Fan politely requested Taiju. After getting along for so long, he had never treated Taiju as a servant, but as a good friend. All right, son-in-law. Please wait a moment. Taiju walked backwards and left. Not long after, he brought breakfast for Li Fan. After eating, Li Fan recovered some energy. Rubbing his somewhat sore legs, he stood up and took a deep breath. This breath of oxygen entering his lungs was like injecting fuel into an engine. Li Fan felt as if his internal organs had come to life, and his true qi was circulating more smoothly. Heaven swallowing toad. Li Fan tried to circulate his true qi to the limit. He stretched out his left hand, and a ball of silver true qi appeared in his palm, slowly forming a small silver ball. This kind of unique power, other than Li Fan, no one else really had it. Even if it was Murong Ying, seeing how exquisite Li Fan's control of true qi was, she would also be extremely jealous. Li Fan felt that his true qi was very pure. This time, his toad strike technique was even purer. Both of his feet bounced on the ground, and his whole body immediately jumped up. Following that, both of his feet were directly attached to the ceiling, and he stood upside down looking down. True times Ursa Major Seal. Li Fan struck the ground upside down. When the palm wind pressed on the ground, the floor immediately collapsed, and a deep palm print appeared. Sure enough, now that the true qi in his body was pure, his strength and experience had also improved a little. Li Fan felt that his current strength of 6 tigers was even more ferocious than the previous strength of 6 tigers. For example, it was like 6 catties of cotton and 6 catties of iron. Although the weight was the same, the difference in quality was too big. Similarly, if you hit people with 6 catties of cotton and hit people with 6 catties of iron, there would really be 2 different effects. Li Fan gently landed on the ground, just as Murong Ying pushed open the door and entered. Chapter 192. Are you alright? Murong Ying saw that Li Fan was alive and kicking. Her beautiful face was slightly surprised. According to the extent of Li Fan's injury, without recuperating for 10 days to half a month, he should not be able to move freely. But now, he was alive and kicking. How did he look like a person who had been injured? Murong Ying began to speculate in her heart. Was it because of Li Fan's pure young body that he could recover so quickly? If that was the case, wasn't it too convenient for him to have a pure young body? It's okay. But after I recover, I should go to school. Li Fan moved his body and said, but I haven't been to school for so many days. The school won't find trouble with me, right? The principal and Chang Chuanxi, those 2 guys, have been thinking about how to kick me out of the school every day. Now that there is an opportunity in front of them, they would be overjoyed. Don't worry. I've helped you apply for leave. Murong Ying comforted Li Fan. I said that your hemorrhoids relapsed and needed a second operation. Fuck. What hemorrhoids relapsed and the wound exploded? Li Fan's head was full of cold sweat. Can't this Murong Ying think of a more reliable excuse? Will they believe this reason? I'm the director. They have to believe what I say, whether they believe it or not. Murong Ying's words were very overbearing. But her overbearing words were reasonable. Li Fan could not find any fault with it. All right. Anyway, help me apply for leave. If he did not apply for leave, he would really be finished. The principal and Chang Chuanxi would definitely not let him off easily. But these 2 days, my classes have been delayed. I have to make up for it. When Li Fan thought of having to study, he felt a bit of a pain in the ass. That's your problem. What about Jiang Feng? How is he recently? Li Fan was concerned about his opponent. He felt that the fate between him and Jiang Feng had not ended yet. It was obvious that Jiang Feng was a petty person. He had defeated Murong Bo in front of him, so he would definitely not let him off. He's still lying in the hospital. Murong Ying took a second look at Li Fan. There are many fractures on his body. I'm afraid he won't be able to get up for at least half a month. That's good. You didn't lose out. Li Fan was happy and beamed with joy, which made Murong Ying roll her eyes. Look at you. Isn't it just defeating Jiang Feng? Are you satisfied just like that? Of course I'm satisfied. After all, I couldn't beat him before. Li Fan waved his palm and said, "What do you think? I told you that my 7 gallant fists can definitely sweep the world. Don't be too confident." Murong Ying gave Li Fan a blow. Don't forget that Jiang Feng isn't a real master. However, he has comprehended the unity of heart and demon. I'm afraid his future is limitless. This person grew up with me. He's very petty. You have to be careful. Counter soldiers with arms and water with earth. Li Fan curled his lips. If he dares to come, I dare to slap him. As a martial artist, if someone wants to compete with me, I won't even have the time to laugh. You weren't like this when you first learned martial arts. Now you're more and more like a martial arts fanatic. Hihi, I'm embarrassed by your praise. Who's praising you? Narcissus. We're already an old couple. Why are you still shy? Didn't you say that I'm your son? Yes, you're right. Murong Ying nodded. She actually acknowledged Li Fan's words. You're my son. That's why it's shortened to 2 words, my son. Li Fan blinked his eyes. Fuck, when did Murong Ying learn to be so eloquent? This bickering skill has improved. Awesome. Awesome. Since you're fine, I'm relieved. Don't be impulsive in the future. Don't use that suicidal move again in the future. That move wasn't powerful enough. Li Fan was full of confidence. I think it's very useful. Hurting others hurts yourself. That's not the style of martial arts. Murong Ying reminded, the original purpose of martial arts is to strengthen the body. If it's to ruin your body, then your path of martial arts is wrong. Alright, I understand. Li Fan didn't argue. He knew that in this aspect, Murong Ying was definitely more experienced than him. Next time, I won't use this move. That's great. It's almost time. You should go to class. Murong Ying looked at the lively Li Fan and sighed with emotion in her heart. She then turned around and left the messy study room. Li Fan looked at the bookshelves lying on the ground, as well as the scattered books, and couldn't help but feel a little guilty. No matter what, these books were Murong Ying's treasures. Since he messed them up, Murong Ying's heart should be quite distressed. Li Fan looked at the scattered books. His mind couldn't help but recall the scene when he fought with Yang Kai. At that time, Yang Kai stretched out his hands and released the move of inner Tai Chi, lifting up the surrounding cars. Although he didn't know inner Tai Chi, the sky-swallowing toad should be able to achieve the same effect, right? Li Fan stood in the middle of the study room. He took a deep breath and let the oxygen in his body burn. The existence of oxygen made Li Fan feel a kind of power. He mobilized the true qi in his body and released it through his hands. The true qi was like a small hand, grabbing onto the books in the surroundings. However, Li Fan only sent out 10 streams of true qi and only grabbed 10 books. This was not enough. He needed more. Li Fan divided the 10 strands of true qi into 2, 2 into 3, and finally into 10 strands. Li Fan released 100 true qi, but this required too much energy to control. Li Fan vaguely felt a slight pain in his head. Too much true qi had been split, a total of 100, grabbing onto the surrounding books. However, there were scattered books everywhere. It wasn't just 100 books. At the same time, Li Fan controlled the bookshelves and let them return to their original positions. Try again. Li Fan then began to let the innate qi disperse, 1 into 2, 2 into 3. A total of 300 strands of innate qi were released, and all the scattered books on the ground were picked up, but Li Fan felt as if his body was about to be torn apart. He felt a pain in his nerves. 3 bookshelves fell to the ground, shaking the bookshelves beside them and scattering even more books. If this continued, he would definitely be in danger. However, Li Fan was not convinced. He definitely had a way to make himself stronger. Wasn't it just releasing 300 true qi? What was that? He didn't believe that with the spring breeze blowing and the war drums beating, who in this world would be afraid of who? Li Fan raised his hands, and a lot of red blood appeared in his eyes. Give me more. 10 in a lifetime. Chapter 193. Li Fan had divided a total of 3,000 strands of true qi. His body was originally on the verge of collapse, but at this moment, for some unknown reason, it glowed with a new life force. There were many bloody wounds on his body. They were all torn apart by too much true qi. However, these true qi were exchanged for new ones. Every time it was rapidly consumed, new ones would grow out. Time and time again, it made Li Fan's body change. Li Fan's strength reached a new peak. He felt as if his body had been remolded once again. A lot of his skin and flesh were torn apart. The old skin and flesh fell to the ground along with the true qi, like a snake shedding its skin. Snake shedding its skin, Li Fan seemed to have understood something. His 7-hero fist had a move called the snake strike technique, which completely imitated the posture of a snake. Right now, the structure of his body seemed to have reached one with the snake. Aberration bone changing, bone washing, new skin and flesh were constantly growing on his body. 10 minutes later, Li Fan had shed all of his skin and a new body stood there. The wounds on his body had also been healed. Every part of his skin and flesh was very new, but it was not the kind of skin and flesh that had not been tempered. The coordination on it was very perfect, suitable for battle. When Li Fan once again transferred 3,000 strands of true qi, although it was still a little difficult, it was no longer too strenuous. It was like carrying a sack. As long as he carried it a few more times, his physical strength would be able to adapt to it. Li Fan stretched out his hands, and 3,000 strands of true qi grabbed onto every book around him. If an outsider saw this scene, they would definitely be very surprised. That was because thousands of books were revolving around Li Fan's body, as if they were little fairies. These little sprites quickly wandered away, and the rows of bookcases also fell back to their original positions. Li Fan's fingers constantly moved, returning the books to their original positions. This feeling was really too good. The 3,000 strands of true qi were flexible and free, constantly returning the books to their original positions. He flicked his hands and watched as every book returned to its original position. When the last book landed on the shelf, Li Fan finally heaved a sigh of relief. Li Fan felt as though a tide was receding within his body, making Li Fan feel slightly empty. He had released too much energy just now, and he almost couldn't hold it in. However, the snake-shedding skin technique had saved him and allowed his strength to improve. Li Fan sensed that his current strength was around 7 tigers. Although he was still very far away from the 9 tigers and 2 dragons, at least he was getting closer. Li Fan slightly recovered his true qi. His pure young body was very convenient for him to recover his true qi. In the span of a few breaths, his strength had recovered quite a bit, and the feeling of emptiness in his body was much better. It was as if he had eaten 70% full. The clothes are all gone too. It's better not to use the aberration bone swap technique in the future. Li Fan's aberrant bone swap had torn a set of clothes again. He returned to his room, found his school uniform, and put it on. Looking at this blue and white school uniform, Li Fan felt a little nostalgic. Sometimes, he really forgot that he was still a high school student. After he put it on, he directly jumped out of the window. His body was abnormally agile. With a somersault in the air, he landed steadily on the ground. After the snake-shedding skin technique, Li Fan's qigong had also improved a lot. When he landed on the ground, his body did not move at all, and his calves did not even shake. In the past, if Li Fan wanted to use such a good qigong, he would need to fill his body with true qi. Until today, he did not do so, and instead maintained such a stable degree. This was something that Li Fan would not even dare to think about normally. The improvement of inner strength was what every martial artist wanted. Li Fan also wanted it, especially the improvement of the purity of inner strength, and not just the strength. This made Li Fan even more happy. This way, The distance between him and Murong Ying was getting closer and closer. Sooner or later, he would move unhindered in the world and become a powerful martial arts master. Now, Li Fan's body did not need him to actively mobilize his true qi. This true qi was like the blood flowing in his body. With every beat of Li Fan's heart, it automatically filled his body. Li Fan gently jumped forward, and his body jumped more than 3 meters away. His body seemed to have been remolded, and it was very easy. This made Li Fan somewhat enjoy his new body. This kind of body was really useful, and it was much more coordinated than his previous body. Li Fan felt that with his current body, it was easier to do those actions that he could not do in the past. Li Fan ran along the side of the road, and his body did a somersault in the air. Then, his waist continued to rotate, and both his legs kept kicking out. With just one jump, he had already kicked out 5 times in a row. Usually, if Li Fan wanted to kick out 5 times in a row, it would be difficult to do so without strengthening his true qi to the extreme. At that time, it was like using his true qi as a rope, and he was pulling himself like a puppet. But now that he could easily use these moves, it was much more convenient for Li Fan. He could now easily use more external martial arts moves. It's so cool. Li Fan was very happy. In the past, he could always feel the limit of his body, but now, the limit had been broken. In the past, when he fought with others, the enemy's moves would slow down in his eyes. But his own speed would also slow down, and there was no way for him to react better. But now, Li Fan could deal with it in more ways. With the breakthrough of his body, Li Fan also became bolder. He started to climb up from the side of a building. With a jump, he landed on the air conditioner on the 2nd floor. Then, with another step, he rose another 2 or 3 meters. With one hand on the balcony of a window, he rose another 3 meters. Li Fan's body climbed lightly on the wall of the building. After a few ups and downs, he had already reached the top of the building. This building was only 7 stories high, but only Spider-Man could stick to the wall. After he landed on the top of the building, the opposite building was about 10 meters away. But this was not a problem for Li Fan. He ran from this side of the building, and in 2 or 3 steps, he had already reached the other side of the roof. With one foot on the edge of the building, his body suddenly jumped out. Li Fan jumped more than 5 meters away, and there was still half the distance between him and the opposite building. But this was not a problem for him. He suddenly opened his arms, and then his feet stepped back. True qi erupted from the soles of his feet and kicked in the air. At the same time, his body used this burst of energy to leap forward, somersaulting in the air like a double jump in a game. He somersaulted forward again, leaping another 5 meters before landing on the opposite building with ease. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.